true.
Podcast time, bitches. What's up, everybody? It's Almost Agreement at gmail.com. We got Facebook, got Twitter, got YouTube. Go to our website, almostagreement.com. You can go there and get my election guide for 22. It's got all the candidates listed for what seats. I just updated it with the official now that the petitions are official. And if there'll be links to their website or Facebook page, as well as links to a show that they've done with us when and if I get them in here for that. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Hit us up there. Let us know what you want to hear about. If we're missing something, we're going to keep working through as many of these candidates as we can and complaining about everything we like to complain about. So that's what I've got. Oh, yeah, favorite podcast writer. Go on there. Just subscribe to us there. Give us a good, solid review and rating and tell people about us. Word of mouth's the best way to get there, but you know, we're going to keep working and we're going to get as many candidates in as possible. And we're going to talk about that and then everything else that's going on in the world. And, you know, that's what we do. So intro rolls out and we'll start the show. So I got Sam and Max here. AC's got a fucking job, loser. What's going on, fellas?
With us or the world?
I mean, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to the world afterwards. How's that?
Oh, not much.
Exciting.
Not really.
Super exciting. Nothing. All right, so you're District 7, right?
Okay.
Are you going to do the primary, or are you just going to wait for the general?
I don't know.
Okay.
If I'm driving down the road and it says, vote today, I'll go and vote.
Okay. Is there an early voting location up there, do you know?
No idea.
I'm sure there is. But I've had both of your school board, or all the school board options for District 7. They've already had them in. Sherry Garrett, Steve Triplett, Dominique Oakley. And I have some opinions on that, but I think I'll wait till we get a little closer to Election Day before I start running my mouth.
Okay.
Like, I guess bad opinions, because if they were good opinions, you would say them right now.
I mean, it's I think the number one front end issue that is not unique to District 7 is that having these school board races partisan, I don't see it as a net benefit for me and you, the voter. I don't think it's helping us at all.
Well, then why'd they do it?
Well, I mean, not to help us, I suppose. Why do you think they did it, Sam?
I don't know what their original motive was.
So you can't vote for your D or your R?
Well, I mean, it'll be in May is the primary, and so you got to pick a D or R total ballot, which is going to include, that'll have the mayor's race and any of the races that are, any of the countywide races will be on that May ballot if there's a primary for it. Which, if you're breaking up the Republican ballot, it probably does. Most of the there's a handful of contested primaries for the Democrats, but not many. But almost all the Republicans have at least two. And then there's a couple races that primary, that Republican primary specifically, will be the election for that seat because there's nobody else running. There's just 2 or 3 Republicans running.
Yeah, no Democrat against it.
Right, and so the primary will be the general for a few particular seats. We'd have to look at it. Let me see. Like Sherry Witt gets a pass because nobody ran against her for county clerk. You want to talk about that at all?
No.
Mike Hammond gets a pass for county clerk or criminal court clerk because nobody ran against, and nobody else is running in that race. And then Mr. Public Defender Eric Lutton, he's unopposed, which I'm fine with because nobody cares. I mean, he's whatever. But again, County Commission District 7 is 3 Republicans. That's everybody that's running. So you've got Rhonda Lee, Alan Merritt, and Chuck Severance. They're all Republicans. So that primary is that race. Whoever wins that primary wins that seat.
I gotcha.
And so, that's an issue.
Unless somebody writes in at the general election, everyone writes the same name.
But it's not like we learned about that one. If you go back to the Carrie Keeling episode I did, that was really interesting. I didn't know a lot of that stuff.
I know. I don't know.
You have to register as a write-in candidate.
Oh.
Because so theoretically you're in District 7. We couldn't do a campaign to get you as a write-in. I mean, we could, and we could get enough people to win the election to write you in. But if you didn't register as a write-in, they don't count them.
Okay.
So, and I guess it makes sense. Like, let's all write in Peyton Manning for mayor.
Yeah, and he didn't want to be mayor.
Right, and he wins. And so, so Carrie Keeling did that in State House 13, I think, wherever Lafferty is. I think it's Lafferty's seat. So we went through all that stuff, and she was talking about the whole process because she still has to go down to the election commission. And, like, part of the thing is you have to write your name. You have to spell your name as many different ways as you can think of. Because if you don't put it on the form, they don't count it. So her name's Carrie, and I think it's spelled Keri is how it's actually spelled. But it's like Ceri, Cary, like every different version of Carrie you could think of. Because if it's not in the filing that she does, they don't count it. Even if it's very clearly some crazy-ass spelling of Carrie Keeling, it doesn't count.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that was a neat little tidbit we learned back in the 20 election for that one. But that would apply here as well. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to run for county commission, you can.
No.
And, I mean, honestly, I could, depending on, well, let's see here. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody. I mean, I've chatted with a few trying to get some scheduling together. Rhonda Lee is an Eric Wader candidate. I had Chuck Severance scheduled for Wednesday of next week, but he has got some conflicts, so we're going to have to reschedule him. So I haven't talked to anybody on the commission side for them yet. But there's some, like, now that this last Wednesday was the deadline for petition turn-in. We have till this last Thursday was petition deadline. Next Thursday is the end of the week grace period to rescind. So there are people that are on the list that got their petitions in, got all their boxes checked.
And then they're going to pull out.
Right, you have 1 week to say, you know what, never mind. Which I think is weird, because what happens on Friday when you're like, you know what, never mind. And they're like, well, too late now, you got to run. It's like, well,
yeah. Okay,
I'm not going to do anything. But you have 1 week to officially withdraw from the campaign. So we'll see if we lose anybody by midweek next week. But I could see it as something like, maybe in that District 7 race, since it's only Republicans, that somebody could start a write-in campaign to run against that District 7 commission seat just because nobody else did anything. I doubt it. I haven't talked to Matt specifically about how they didn't get somebody to run over there, because they've got almost everybody. They didn't get a sheriff. That's another one. The sheriff's race. If you're a Democrat in Knox County and you pull a Democratic primary because you care about your primaries, you don't get to vote for sheriff with the way things are going to be right now.
Yeah, well, because it's Jimmy J.J. Jones and
Spangler, who are both Republicans, and so that's a primary ballot winner.
Someone was asking me that the other day if the sheriff race was a partisan race. I was like, I'm not sure if they have to run under
they do
an insignia.
It's interesting. Like I had Herrera on this morning. Got up with a pot of coffee and did it at 8 o'clock this morning. But I had Herrera this morning. We were talking about it, and he agrees. I mean, he did I did the 5 questions with him that I do with all the candidates, even though he's not a candidate. But obviously he's the chair of the party. He's going to think partisanship is an overall good thing. But he's like, I don't know about the judges, honestly. He's like, I don't know if the judges and the clerks and the trustee and some of these more, especially like the trustee and the county clerk, that it's so much of an admin job. I don't know how much the partisanship makes a difference to that seat. I was like, I knew it. I was right. Cause I don't know. You need to listen to Sherrywood episode, because both of you guys do, just because I know you've had it in your life when you've been doing like a performance review for an employee or something like that, and they're playing this game of justifying why they're a good employee. Like, they're telling you, like, yeah, I do lots of stuff all the time. I'm busy all the time doing all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay,
sure.
Like, I hear the words you're saying, but I also know what you actually do. And so, like, that's how some of that. And again, it's not to disparage Sherry at all. It's just that's the fact of the position. Because I was like, hey, you know what? I get it. You're not out there selling license plates, for lack of a better word. You're not out there signing off on driver's license. You're capable of doing the job, but that's not the job of the clerk. The job of the clerk is to oversee. It's to hire and fire, set office policy. If we're going to add in some online registration options and stuff like that, that is your job, to get the right people together to implement said program and get it, whatever. You have to justify to the budget and the mayor's office why you're spending money on this satellite office out in Turkey Creek or whatever. Like, that's the job. But you're not. But you go on the state website where it's telling you what the county clerk is, they're telling you about license plates and driver's license and stuff like that. And I think there's a distinct difference.
So I didn't know that she did license plates. So I do need to run, so I can change it to like a 5-year.
Well, that's out of her hands. That's part of the thing.
Damn it! Never mind.
That's a state legislature. That's a state legislation issue. Because like that's what I was talking about with her. It's like, she has nothing to do with these blue plates. These new blue plates that come out, the state put these plates together. Her job is distribute the plates as needed. She didn't get to
now.
pick
Is
these
that blue
plates.
plate just the general one, like the green one that you get when you go to register? Is that
Yes,
one of the?
That is the Tennessee generic plate now.
Now, okay. So if you are getting a plate.
That's what you'll get.
They're going to give us.
Yeah.
They're going to give you the new one. But like, if you have a green one, they're just going to update it when you go to.
I don't know. I mean, I did I did mine because I bought the Toyota back in December of last year. So I just did mine back in December, and I just got a sticker. But I don't know if they're officially rolled out back in December.
Yeah, I guess I have a vanity plate because I have a couple vanity plates. I don't have a vanity plate. No, vanity is just like.
Custom plate.
Custom plate, or
right.
like the ones that are like the UT ones, and are those considered vanity plates still?
Specialized.
I don't know if they're vanity or they're what. But I'm sure those, if you have one of those, that's not going to change. But I wonder if you have a normal plate, when you go to register, which I got to go do this week. But why can't I pay for like 5 years?
Well, I agree, but on that, what I thought was kind of gross is that I let the truck expire. My truck, the old beat up pickup truck, was August. And it just expired, and I just kind of put it off. Like, it wasn't like I didn't want to or didn't have the money to. It's just, I drive by the clerk's office, like, I'm busy today. I got other stuff to do. Mm-hmm. So, in late November, early December, when I got the Forerunners, whatever, I was like, well, let me go ahead and do them both. I'm like, hey, I got this one and this one. And they're like, okay. And I got the new registration for the truck in December, paid for a year. The sticker's still for August.
Yes, unless you said, if you would have told them I've not been driving it because it's been broke down in my garage and that's why I didn't get it then you could do it updated to December.
I didn't think about it at the time. I just assumed that it's like, well, I get it from a year the day I paid for it because why not?
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not mad about it. I just thought it was interesting.
But I mean, it's not like some states.
What do you give me the head nod for?
What, they should incentivize you for getting away with driving 3 or 4 months without updating it? Like, I get a new sticker.
So, so we're okay with them assuming that I'm breaking the law?
There's no assuming.
Sure, there is. The assumption is that you didn't renew your plate, but you must still be driving your car without a valid license plate. So we're going to charge you for that time. That's the assumption, but that is what they did to me. They assumed that I did that. Are they correct? Yes, but that's not the point. That's so you're saying that. I guess my assumption is, why aren't they? They should be on the side of give me the benefit of the doubt that I did it correctly. That there's a reason I didn't register it sooner, instead of assuming that I'm the bad person, which is what they did.
Now, I don't know what, like in other states where you have an emissions test, like an annual emissions test you have to get, where in Tennessee we don't have an emissions test. So I don't know why I can't pay for like 5 years. Can I not just go down there and, just pay for 5 years and not have to worry about it?
I mean, I
don't know what the point of not allowing you to do that.
I think you only get to that level when you get like the antique plates.
What's the
you get the antique permanent plate,
right?
What do you think the average lifespan of a car is for a Tennessean?
I have no idea. But that's my issue. If I get a plate for 20 years and that I wreck it the next week,
right, or you sell it in 5,
this is something like it's still my fault for getting it registered for.
Because I always thought it was weird. Because are you registering the car or are you registering the person?
The car.
You're registering the car to the person.
Okay, I get it. I'm just saying, like, I always think that's kind of weird. It's like, why do I need to, like, I get more for the driver's license sake, or the insurance part of the sake is like, I think that's weird because you're insuring. Are you insuring a car or are you insuring a person when you're driving on your car insurance?
Both.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's just a weird little ism because I could be driving somebody else's car, my insurance covers it. Somebody else could be driving my car, my insurance might cover it, depending on the situation. And it's like,
what's like if your 17-year-old daughter lives with you, she's not covered on your insurance unless you put her on the insurance. But if that 17-year-old daughter is not living with you, then she's covered on your insurance.
Try that again. I'm confused.
If your daughter is living with you and she drives your car and gets wrecked, the car is only covered if she is actually put on the insurance. But if the daughter is living with her grandparents or living with her mother or out on her own, she's covered because she doesn't live in your house. I guess they just assume if she's living at your house,
you should be insuring her as a driver.
She's going to be driving your car.
Interesting. I guess makes sense.
But
to me, that's I guess my question. It's like why doesn't it just insure the car? And anybody who wants to drive it could drive it, and the car is the part that's insured.
And the car is insured, long as anyone who drives a car that gets in an accident does not live in your household.
Right. Or if they live in your household, they're on the insurance.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Because then at the same time, it's like how like what you got. Well, I guess technically your dad owns the camper, but you've got what 4 regular vehicles? The little truck.
4.
The little truck, the Jeep, the car, and then the Sequoia. Yeah. Right. And as of right now, at least you only have 2 adults in the house that can drive it, right? Yeah.
Well, no, I haven't. And then I have the Optima that my daughter drives.
Oh, okay.
Because I have she's not. If I put it in her name, I lose my lifetime warranty on it.
Check. But my point being is like you have multiple vehicles that each have to be insured, but you only have 2 people that are allowed to drive them on the insurance.
Yes.
Like so, for me, we have 3 cars, 2 drivers in this house. There's no question I don't have anybody else old enough.
Yes.
In the house of concern, and it's like, well, why do I have to pay extra to insure a 3rd vehicle when there's only 2 of us that can ever be driving them? It seems weird to me. Like it seems like either I should be insured as the driver or the vehicle should be insured. But we're in this weird boat thing.
But it depends. I mean, it'd be cool if they came out with something like that, like which was like a coverage of multiple vehicles. I guess they do that anyway. But like, obviously, 2001.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Toyota Corolla is not going to cost as much as a 2020.
Right, but you are covered for the most expensive vehicle in your fleet, for lack of a better word. And so worst case scenario, you wreck the 21 Corolla and it's way under the top value thing, so it's not a big deal for the insurance cover.
But the RV is actually on my insurance also.
Fair enough.
Which is funny. Like, I don't own it. My dad owns it, but it's on my insurance policy.
I'm sure if a tree falls on it too, your homeowners will kick in too.
Yeah, probably.
Homeowners is weird too. The same kind of thing. Like, a tree falls on your car in your driveway. Is it homeowners or car insurance?
The homeowner. A tree falls
in the woods. Can anybody?
Yeah. Well, I think that would be homeowners.
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know the answer to that. It wasn't a. This isn't a quiz like I know the answer to. It's just about. It's one of those weird things that
Well, it's like if a bad storm comes and uproots a tree and it tips over towards your house. And it's sitting there looking like it's going to fall on your house, but does not fall on your house. Your homeowner's insurance will not pay for that tree to be cut down. They'll only pay when that tree actually falls on your house, which does not make sense. Like, why not do, hey, when this tree falls on the house, it's going to cost me thousands and thousands of dollars to fix this person's house. And we know the tree's falling.
Right.
But we're not going to pay the $500 to have someone come out in here and cut it down.
Well, I mean, it's the same way until recently. Health insurance, like health insurance now are doing things where they'll pay for you to have a gym membership and stuff like that. But they used to not. They'd only pay for when you get sick, not for you to do things to not get sick.
No, but insurance paid for, preventative maintenance stuff, shots and checkups and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Preventive maintenance.
Isn't that what that is?
Some shit, yeah, because we maintain. I mean, yeah, it works. We maintain our bodies. But yeah, so the wild world of insurance. Everybody, you're welcome.
Dad, my brother should have. I don't know if there's a homeowner's. What's where you get the insurance for your house? Like, water heat comes out and you pay your deductible. What's that called?
Oh, the warranty, home warranty.
Home warranty. Yeah. My brother should have got one on his boat. I don't even know if that's a thing, but Jesus, he's had more problems.
Again?
I'm sure there is.
Oh, yeah. Like he was $25,000 to replace the port side engine, and then they had that, and then they fixed all that, and then they were trying to sail. They're halfway to Florida right now, and they were... his generator went out, so he had to fix the generator, water pump, and having all sorts of issues with that. He's replaced I don't know, half the electrical stuff that's went out, and his refrigerators went out, his stoves went out, his freezers went out, like everything. And he said he was texting me today, and they were going to Hilton Head, to a port in Hilton Head, for a water pump that went out to be delivered there, and his starboard side engine will not start. I was like, geez, did those people that he bought the boat from, like, did they have like some master mechanic and go, sell this motherfucker
right now?
Like, he's probably put,
no lemon law in the boating world.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, that's a weird thing because it was inspected. Obviously, when you take that big of a loan on a boat, like the bank requires certain inspections and had to be pulled out, dry docked, and like gone through everything, and everything passed. And I mean, he's probably spent $50,000 or $60,000 on that boat, if I had to guess, in the last 2 years.
That's a lot of money.
It's not money.
On top of whatever the boat was in the first place.
3 something, yeah.
Yeah, sold his whole house for it.
It's just nuts. What were you?
I was just I was scrolling through Facebook real fast, and I heard rumor of such issues that Larson J is getting in a little bit of trouble for some of his campaign financing and stuff like that. And there's an image via Knox County TN Campaign for Liberty, which I think that Waiter's affiliated with it. If he's a fan, at least, if he's not affiliated with it directly, that says Larson donated to Obama.
And he's a Republican?
Yep. The headline reading, Larson J is not who he claims to be. He donated $1,000 to the Obama presidential campaign. He fought against our conservative values on masking issue, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, I had Larson yesterday, the day before.
Well, it says he's a Democrat.
No, Obama's a Democrat.
Oh, the recipient information. Yeah. I gotcha. Obama for America.
Yeah.
There was an article about three of the school board that were accused of breaking sunshine laws.
Oh, I didn't know it was sunshine law. I know there's been some ethics complaints because the way I understood it is essentially by rule, when the board meets and votes on something, board members aren't allowed to then go against the vote. And so in the last school board meeting, there was a lot of conversation.
Maybe I was misread.
Wait, they're not allowed to go against the vote?
So the board sat down. Okay, so let me my understanding of the specific story is that at the last school board meeting, there's a good chunk of the school board who's not happy about still being in masks, obviously, because they actually voted to not start this school year with masks. And then this is when the judge comes in and filed this injunction, and now we're in this pause, and the kids, and we're, I think, the only county in the state, one of very few counties in the state that still have our kids in masks. But we're under a federal, lawsuit, injunction, whatever, that's keeping the masks on the kids. And some of the complaint from the school board is that Knox County Law Department is not fighting back against this judge's injunction significantly, or not doing a very good job, not trying very hard or whatever. And so at the last school board meeting, there was conversation about hiring some outside legal help to go and try to get this mass injunction lift and let the school board take control back of policy in schools, which I think is we can argue about whether or not the mass shooter shouldn't be on the kids, that's an aside, but the idea that the local school board, who's supposed to have the authority to make these decisions, has gotten it stripped from them, and that the county law department, who is supposed to defend the school board, is not putting forth the effort the school board thinks they should be on a particular issue. I see the argument there. Agree or disagree, that's fine, but I see the argument there. So essentially, at the part of the meeting, they voted on whether or not they were going to bring out in outside legal help or let the law department continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, at some point, they had a vote of confidence of the law director.
Right, and so there was the vote of confidence, and so that's part of where the gray area comes into this, because it doesn't explicitly say we are only using Knox County Law Department, or we are not going to seek outside help. It just says, as a school board, we're confident the law department's doing what they can. And so then 3 of the school board members went later this week to a commission meeting to petition the commission for additional funds to hire outside help. And so, that whole vote of confidence in the law department is where the ethics thing's kind of in flux, because you're obligated to agree to follow what the board votes on as a board member. So the vote
so they didn't have to vote for it, but after their side lost it, and they said this is the vote on it. They went against the. So I understand,
right? But again, I think that's where some of the gray area is in this conversation, is because.
But there was also
it's a small window of saying they went against the vote, because that vote just said we're confident in the law department. It didn't say no, we're not doing outside help.
It did say we're only confident in the law.
And so that's part of where the gray area. Like, I understand where the ethics complaint comes from because of it, but at the same time,
can you define sexual relations?
Right. I don't know if blowjobs count or not. It doesn't count to Bill Clinton, but it counts. I would count it, but who am I? I'm just a guy.
There was also a Facebook group that I think those 3 members were also, I guess, conversing in. I guess with that issue, I think that's where there was an allusion to the Sunshine Law.
Right. That was going on a while ago. I don't know if there's a new one on it. I was in the group. I think I got kicked out, actually. But that was the Parents Against Masks or Mandates or whatever.
I think that's what it was.
And it was a public group, which if it's a public group, they're fine to be a part of it. But at some point in the process, in a really fun little crazy, the other side's spying on us, we got to shut them out. The group went private, and they were still members.
They were still members in it.
And, I don't know. My leaning towards benefit of the doubt would say that I think Christy is one of the ones involved, and I'll ask her. I think I have her next week. But I would understand if they didn't realize the group went private and just continued using the group until they were notified from somebody somewhere else. And in the fun game of politics, well, it's too late. You should have known better. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I do recall that happening. But that was months ago when that part was going on.
Yeah, but I mean, it's understandable if you're in a group and it's public, and then they make it private. How do you know that now it's a private group?
I mean, I'm sure there's some messenger or something in Facebook notifies you of that. But I would also assume just because of their public stance and all the crazy shit that's going on with them right now, their notifications are worse than your emails on your phone.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, but yeah, you get even
for
Facebook.
Reference, how many emails you got right now?
I don't know.
I just wanted, I felt like I should reference that for people because they might not understand. I know this, but I don't know if the public knows. Like how many,
on which account?
Total. Like how many of red circles on your phone? How many numbers do you have in red circles on your phone?
43,000
on your email account.
Yeah,
and exactly. That's what I'm saying. I would assume that for some of these school board members right now, their Facebook notifications, their email box and stuff like that has a pretty high number on it, no matter how hard they're trying to keep up with it. So again, I could see that Facebook says, "Hey, this group is now private."
Yeah.
But in the mountain of notifications, that gets skewed over. I could see that. To be fair,
on my primary account, the one that I use on a regular basis, not all the other ones we have, I probably delete 200 messages, emails a day.
Maybe we should hire somebody just to go through and unsubscribe us to all this mailing list.
I sat down one time and unsubscribed to every email that came in. I clicked on it, went through their unsubscribe. Oh, you want to unsubscribe? Blah, blah, blah. Tell us why. Well, went through the whole thing. Went to everything. And the next day, it was exactly the same. I was like... So I was like, well, maybe it just takes a week or so for it to register or something like that. They could take 30 to 60 days. Yeah, and I just...
Yeah. Here's just the two. This is just that email. It's just those two emails. There's 320 right now.
Unread?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I get it, man. I'm totally 100%. I'm with you on. I'm OCD about it. Like the red dot with a number in it. Like I have a problem. It bothers me.
I used to, but now
I'm sorry I don't have a choice. I'm the same way.
It's like, well, whatever. I mean, I get mad at my wife when I look at her phone and she has 47 text messages and 35 Facebook messengers, and I'm like, how can you live like this and not? She's like, oh, I saw, it popped up on my phone that the person sent a message, and I was like, well, sometimes the thing that you read across the top is not the full message.
There's more to it than that.
It's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And then there's a whole message about what they want to do tomorrow.
Right.
And you completely miss it.
Yeah, I can't, I've got 36 emails in my main one, which includes the 320 there, but for some reason, that's the other thing I don't get either, doesn't sync. If you delete emails, because we have 2 accounts that we share, if you delete them, they don't delete on my phone. and they'll still sit as unread on my phone and on this app as well that's on the computer.
Yeah, because the business email, I mean, you basically deal with that, but every once in a while I'm like looking for something from our accountant or whatever, and I'll just delete all the ones that I know they're nothing, you know. But
yeah, it's rough life. It's the world we live in, I suppose. But yeah, that school board thing's going crazy. And again, like, to me, like, I don't know. I get it. I mean, I don't get it. Like, I do, and it doesn't make sense to me why the kids are still in masks. I mean, hell, I got an email at my day job. For those of the people at my day job that work in the office in Nashville, they've lifted the mask requirement in the office. They haven't mentioned us street people, if we count or not, in the email or whatever. But it's like, you know.
I mean, didn't they come out and say that the masks don't help with the prevention of the new variant anyway?
Yeah.
So,
the cloth masks don't. Like, it's got to be like N95 or better.
But what does 90% of people wear?
But just staying on topic, the school kid, I mean, my kids have been in the gator things the whole time. And maybe that's my fault for being a parent and not insisting on better, but it's like most of their friends are in gators.
Yeah.
Like, those are just like the ones grandma made.
I think the more pressing thing is of not wearing masks is getting these kids, and I don't know if your kids are the same way, but boys, they don't want to wear pants. Like, it's snowing outside, and I'm fine. Oh, yeah. I'm fine with my socks and my shorts. I'm only on the school bus for a short period of time.
I wasn't sure where you go with this at first. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was like it. So we're allowed to you're going to advocate that we shouldn't have to wear pants at school?
These boys wearing rompers nowadays.
They don't want to wear pants, and I don't know. And I've seen other groups, like my neighborhood group or whatever, people trade, they're like, yeah, my teenage boy does not want to wear pants. And it's like, he only wants to wear shorts. Or the sweatpants that have like the elastic around the ankles.
Yeah.
I guess those are cool too.
Yeah, they're styling. I got some right now.
Yeah.
But amazing. I don't. I mean, my little one, like, he prefers to wear shorts. Like, he would have wore shorts today to go out shed hunting if I didn't make him put pants on. Yeah. And I was like, you want pants just as much for thorns and stuff that we're going to be tromping through as you do because it's cold. But it's cold out there too.
It's cold.
But is there school? So are you saying that there are schools that are making kids wear pants?
No. I think we should.
Oh, you think we should?
I think there should be a requirement. If it's so cold outside, you have to wear pants. Like, I mean, I guess they're not getting sick. I mean, they're not all getting pneumonia, but they're, I don't know, maybe that's get off my lawn kind of old man thing. Like, you should be in pants. It's cold outside. I'm in shorts right now, but
but you would just prefer somebody else to make to be. But you'd be like, it's not that I care. You can wear shorts. It doesn't bother me at all. School says you have to wear pants. You just wear the pants, so we don't have to do it.
Exactly.
It's really just you don't have to. You have somebody to blame it on.
Exactly.
I remember going to the bus stop in like middle school in the wintertime, just wanting to wear like a T-shirt, just so I didn't have to carry around like a jacket all day at school. Yeah. I mean, I'd have my arms like inside of the shirt, like tucked in, trying to stay as warm as I could. But
yeah, I mean,
well, when we grew up, there was wintertime. There was not. Like, you were a moron if you didn't wear pants. I mean, I tell the story all the time. And toboggan and
we never when I lived in Wisconsin, we never got out of school for snow, ever. The handful of times in the history of me living in Wisconsin that we got out of school for weather was because it was physically too cold to wait for the bus, regardless of jackets and hats and all the other things that you should be wearing outside at that time of the year anyway. But it was literally like negative 40s and 50s in the wind chill and stuff like that. It's like, we cannot reasonably expect a kid to go way outside for the bus. We're calling school off today. That was it. We'd have a foot of snow overnight. Whatever.
We had the only thing that when we got out of school, like, we didn't have. Well, I mean, we got cold in Colorado, but not like, that negative 40 and all that kind of stuff. But we got a lot of snow, and we didn't have text messaging or email, or even the here early on where it had the ticker on the bottom of the TV you had to watch. It was go wait outside and see if the bus can make it through the snow. Mm-hmm. And if the bus didn't show up 30 minutes after they were supposed to be there, then you could go back home.
Right.
And then you knew there was no school.
I mean, I remember we always did, like, it was always on the news. Like, it would be, we'd get a bunch of snow overnight, it would be cold or whatever, it would be go downstairs, turn the TV on, like, while you're eating breakfast, waiting to see. Mm-hmm. I don't know that we had, I can't recall a time that we got notified the day before, which they do all the time here. It's like, it might snow tonight, no school tomorrow.
And then outside, the kids are playing in shorts, and it's beautiful weather.
Yeah. But
it's silly.
Yeah, that little bit of that's get off my lawn, but I mean, I get it. It's easy to be like, no, it's not me. I don't care. You can do what you want, man. Be cool. But those damn teachers, those school administrators, they're just assholes. Want to make you wear pants.
If it's 30 degrees outside, you got to wear pants.
I think we should back this up and be like long pants, short pants, because like there's a whole stretch of that where it's like no pants at all.
No pants.
Oh, you mean long pants? Check.
You got to wear pants in school.
I had my first CRT candidate this week. That was fun and interesting. Got to push back and be like, what are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
CRT? Sam? What's CRT, Sam? Tell us all about it.
Critical race theory.
Oh.
And it was just like, okay, I understand what critical race theory is. We know for a fact that it's not in curriculum in Knox County.
That's also, it would be a statewide curriculum, so it's nothing they can make decisions upon in the state body. Right. Okay.
But so it is literally not in the state of Tennessee curriculum anywhere. She's like, yeah. And I was like, well, what are we talking about? Like, I understand the theory of what it is, and I can understand the idea of, okay, we don't have it in text. It's not in a history book specifically. We're not teaching critical race theory, but we're using critical race theory concepts in lessons. I could see how that could be a thing, but is that happening? Well, I haven't found it. We don't know. It's like, so then what are we pushing back on if we don't even know that it exists or not?
They're specifically running on it?
I mean, that was like they brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
Okay.
We were talking about like top things, and it was like, back to basics, security, making kids safe at school, and then CRT.
Well, I saw a comedian. He said, if you're wondering if you're a racist, ask your closest black friend if you're a racist. And if you don't have a closest black friend, you're probably a racist.
Shit, I guess I'm a racist. Does it have to be black? Can it be a Mexican? Or
it's a Mexican.
Do other non-whites count for that questionnaire?
No. I did see this one guy that was going, it was in LA, and he was polling people on racism and being racist and stuff. And some of the people he was polling, he's polling black people, and they're like, well, if you're white, you can't be racist. And he was like, or no, if you're black, you can't be racist. You go and be racist if you're white. And he was like, well, what does that have to do with? Well, it's the majority. And he was like, we're in Los Angeles, where the 60% of the LA Police Department is Hispanic or black. And he was just going down all the things. And it was like the whites were the minority in that. He was like, so if they're the minority, they can be racist? No, that's not true. And it just went back and forth about racism. Is racism only one way?
No, I mean, I don't think, not by definition, but yes. At least that's the common cultural conversation on it.
If you're black, you can't be racist.
I mean, yeah, I've heard that argument. I suppose would be a better way to say it.
How about Canada? What do you guys think about Canada right now?
That trucker thing's pretty crazy. I saw an interesting one today that was of all the different conversation I heard about it, it's the first time I've heard anybody reference it in a particular way. And it was from a trucker who works for one of the larger companies, like a Schneider or Orange Trucking, like stuff that like JB Hunt or whatever. We see those guys all over the place. What's the one everybody makes fun of about wrecking all the time?
Swift.
Yeah. So it's one of the he worked for one of those companies, and like that was his whole spiel. I was like, you don't see any of us that work for the big companies out there. And be thankful that we are still running our routes and that our companies don't let us get out there, because you wouldn't have eggs or whatever in the grocery store. You wouldn't have gas at the pump and blah, blah, blah. And
but it was still a crazy amount of truckers that went there.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting...
I don't know how many of them.
I've heard 50,000. I've heard 5,000. I don't know. Right. All over the place.
I don't think there was ever a point there was 50,000 people there total, let alone 50,000.
Oh, no. There's 50,000 people out there now. But they're not truckers.
Where? In one specific place or across Canada?
No. In at Parliament, we're trying to get
in Ontario, or what is it? Right
Trudeau or whatever to resign.
Was it Windsor? Right across from Detroit.
Somewhere in there.
Windsor, Ontario.
There's a bunch of people, but it's all, and it's funny. It's like the first time I've ever seen a mob of people and them all agreeing. Like, you usually see you have your Black Lives Matter and then you have your white supremacists and they all go to the same event and there's this opposite side kind of thing, or whatever. But these are like everybody there, but the cops are on the same side. It's pretty interesting.
I mean, that presser, that emergency, whatever the candidates approved or whatever, is pretty crazy.
And
I mean, they're talking.
You got. These are all beers left at the Super Bowl party.
Clean it up.
Oh my God.
I mean, we're talking like giving banks permission to freeze accounts on suspicion. Like, that's one of the big ones going on right now. They already did the whole thing with the GoFundMe, where GoFundMe just is like, yeah, we're not going to give the money who you donated to. There's that whole part of things, and just the level of criminality that they're turning this protest into. And maybe there's some there. I'm not saying there's not, but there was on some CBB, right?
BBC in England?
No, but CBC would be the Canadian Broadcasting equivalent. They had some lady who is like the Canadian like terrorist counterterrorism funding expert or whatever, which is basically like, these GoFundMes and these crowdsourcing things are just like cesspools of terrorism funding organizations, and this is how you get these terrorist funding organizations. Basically, like this whole big thing about how, I mean, basically she was saying that the trucker groups and people that are supporting them are a terrorist organization, and that's kind of how the Canadian Parliament and Trudeau is now kind of treating them. And it's like this. Let's just agree or disagree with the point of what they're protesting about, but are we really at the level where this is like 9/11? This is a 9/11 event right now going on? I don't think so, but this is the broadest like governmental power thing that Canada has on the books. Like, apparently it went into place in the 80s and they've never used it. They started talking about using it early pandemic to try to figure out how to do whatever early pandemic stuff they could do. Decided it was too much and put it away. So we're talking in March 2020, when Western Hemisphere is getting just exploding case counts and stuff. They're like, no, this use of emergency powers is too much by our government. Even with the craziness going on, it's too much. We can't do that. But 5,000-10,000 truckers pitching a fit is enough that they're going to kick that emergency powers authorization in. And I think that's a little crazy.
Well, I mean, they were like arresting people bringing gas in to the truckers and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are you arresting? What are you arresting somebody for? Walking down the street with a gas can?
Yeah, I mean, it's like
like what are you charging them with?
Well, it's one of those weird ones that's like, in Trudeau's presser on it, he was like, we're giving law enforcement more tools. So what is a tool to law enforcement? So they're not doing anything illegal currently, so we're changing the law, so what they're doing we can now call illegal. Because it wasn't illegal before, you'd already been able to arrest them, right? You're not been able to do something about it, I would think. But we're giving law enforcement new tools.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what new tools are we talking about? Like, are they getting flashlights? Are they getting better flashlights? Are we getting lasers? What are we talking? I mean, like, it's a weird. It's one of those that one of my podcasts that I listened to was talking about it, and it's like, if you're not critically thinking about what he's saying when he says that phrase, it's really easy to just kind of brush by that. Like, oh, new tools, they're going to go out there and they're going to do something about it. But then you start thinking about it, it's like, what new tools? Now, again, this is Canadian. This is the Royal Mounted Canadian Police or whatever. So I don't know what they have in their standard arsenal of things. But it still boils down to that bottom line fundamental. It's like, well, it wasn't illegal yesterday, but we're making it illegal today. And that is at least one of the new tools at play. And one of those other tools at play is this financial thing where they're giving banks permission and clearance from liability. So if you happen to be in Windsor right now, like, I don't know, going to Niagara, like you go to Niagara Falls and you come back some weird way and you stop in Windsor for some gas or
two totally different areas.
That's what I'm saying. You go the wrong way. I corrected myself mid-sentence. It doesn't matter. You're in Canada for some reason. You end up in fucking Windsor. You're trying to get to Detroit.
You're trying to go to Calgary and you make a wrong turn.
Windsor's right across.
I'm going to British Columbia, okay?
Windsor's right across the bridge from Detroit.
Detroit, right.
Yeah, so you're going to Calgary.
But Niagara is
over by Buffalo. Yes, that's what I said. You were trying to get back to the States, but you went the wrong way. That's what I said in my... Like, I caught myself mid-thing, and I poorly corrected.
You
anyway.
want to take the long way around.
point is, you stop and get some gas or something like that, and they can refuse payment. They can refuse to take your payment. They can refuse all sorts of weird financial shit right now for it. If you happen to be doing some sort of banking in a bank around there, the government has given those banks the authority to seize your assets. And then you'd have to go and be like, no, I'm not part of this thing. I was just trying to get to Detroit like I do every week.
Yes.
But that's now not only the government, but the private banks are now part of this operation to stop you from being a terrorist. And it's like, well, who's overseeing this thing? What happens when they get it wrong? The liability's not there. I can't sue the bank and be like, hey, not to mention I don't have money to sue the bank because they're holding on to my money. I can't hire a lawyer. So now I'm not allowed to be part of the financial infrastructure that is my community because I was thought to be by my bank a terrorist. And by terrorist, I mean I was protesting against truckers having to get shots or some bullshit to enter the country.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It just doesn't add up. That's the problem. Like the two things don't add up as far as the seriousness of one and the other. Not to mention, at the same time, the Canadian government is backing off some of their mandates, but not because of this, because the science has changed.
Because the science has changed. And Trudeau doesn't want to resign, which is what they're asking for.
Right, and so, but the whole thing is here, we're not doing this because you guys told us to and you guys made a big fit, because we don't want you as a public to think that this is a way to get shit done. Which is not a terrible argument. Like, it's not a terrible way to look at it. We don't want to make this normal. We don't want you guys to freak out about something different that may actually be a problem or something like that. I don't know. I can't, like all of a sudden the French portion of Canada decides all of Canada's French now and they go block bridges. It's like, we don't want that to be the normal protest avenue that you guys use.
Well, you've seen that thing that there are more Americans that live north of Canada than Canadians.
I mean,
so there are more. What's the easiest way to put it? I'm wearing this. There are more Americans closer to the North Pole than Canadians.
I can see that. I mean, you got Minneapolis.
Because the like 50% of Canada lives on the border of, like, you know, Detroit and Montreal and all that kind of stuff. And if you drew a line,
right,
it has like half of Montana and
right, you got
Minnesota and Oregon and all those
Wisconsin.
things. And all those people that live above that line, there's more people that live
that are American citizens
that live farther north than Canadians.
Right.
And I was like, what? No, Canada is huge.
Canuckastanies. Actually, that's actually should make a comeback now. One of the podcasts we used to listen to was like a mystery podcast, like murder mystery, weird old shit kind of thing. Mm-hmm. One of the guys, that was his whole thing. Every time they had an episode that had somebody in Canada, he'd always call them Canuckastani. So it's making a comeback now with all these terrorist truckers. I just think it's. I mean, the protest itself. Again, we can argue about the validity of the complaints of the truckers or whatever. And we can even say the methods might be kind of shitty. I don't think so. I think the methods are pretty good because they're getting action for what they're trying to get. But
they're not burning down the city. They're not rioting.
Right,
they're not destroying buildings. They're not.
Right.
They're not overtaking the White House or overtaking Parliament by force or anything like that. For the most part, it's
right. I find the government response concerning. I mean, that's my part of it. Now it's Canada. They don't have the same Bill of Rights as we do. They don't have the same freedom of speech rules that we do. And I don't know their constitution or collectivism, whatever their title of document is.
It's interesting to watch, but like how big a deal is it really?
What I think is interesting is I think if you know, like we have all this supply chain problem that everybody keeps talking about right now. I think if you had truckers like blockade the port of Los Angeles, like we're not letting trucks in or out of LA, out of the port of LA right now. I don't think I think as much as our Constitution and our freedom of speech laws are supposed to be stronger than Canadians, I think that would get shut down faster than this Canadian one would.
Oh, for sure.
I think that protest would get not going into alternative methods to get things through, not going to Long Beach or going up to Seattle instead, but like literally like we're going to get the National Guard out and drive tanks through this blockade because you don't have the right to do that kind of thing.
Well, Modi Craig, that's a LAPD, he was like, thank you, Rams, for winning the Super Bowl. I got a bunch of overtime in. Because all the people burning down cars and, you know. Celebrating.
There's some funny video I saw, and I guess it was like pre-celebration, but it was, like the news chopper like flying along, I guess the parade route, and they were like, we got all these fans out there, and it was so sparse. There was like just like a handful of like random people kind of going down the road, and they're like, yeah, these fans are getting all hyped up for the event that's coming up, and they're going down this road. I mean, there's like 20 people just like standing along the road.
Probably just a couple homeless camps.
Well,
I don't know if they were just like two in front of it, if they were there at like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Well, Craig says that he's like, he's East LA, and he's a Chargers fan now that Chargers there, but he's like, this city does not support football whatsoever. He's like, I don't know why they keep on bringing football teams to LA, because LA does not support football.
Well, obviously, because they built like that is a private stadium. That is not there. That is one of the few privately owned stadiums in football.
Because
is it still shared by two teams though?
Yeah,
the Chargers and Rams.
Yeah, but like there was an article about it. They were talking about how it's pretty cool. Like this is a privately owned stadium. There's no public funds that went into doing this. Obviously some infrastructure went in and stuff like that. They built new access and all that, but the stadium itself, the $1 billion or whatever it cost to build, didn't come out of any sort of taxpayer funding or whatever. It's like, that's pretty cool, except for that stadium in St. Louis and San Diego right now that did get built by taxpayer funding that are now empty, not getting rent payments and shit.
They just tear it down. Can they not use those stadiums to do like reenact like Roman Coliseum kind of shit?
I mean, that's what they already do. That's what football is.
No, like
that is the modern Coliseum.
Like real, like like when you go to what's the place in like Pigeon Forge where you the people joust and stuff like that, like medieval times or whatever. But
no, it's not Dixie Stampede anymore, because
it's just Stampede,
Dolly Stampede or whatever now.
Yeah, Dolly. Damn, she was such a racist.
But I don't know. Like I find like I don't know. We're moving forward. I mean, our stadium's getting started there. We're go. It's going to be 24 season before they start playing. We're not going to get them in the 23 season.
The Titans?
Smokies.
Oh, the Smokies.
Titans are looking at a new stadium. The Titans are advocating for a new stadium right now too. They're asking for.
When the Smokies get downtown, that'll be cool, because that's a short drive. I'll probably go to a lot more games.
Yeah. I'm actually just going to reach out and see what's the developer? What's Boyd's development group? Gem?
Oh, look at me.
I think it's Gem Development. I was going to reach out to them and see what some of the floor plans look like on some of the surrounding
retail areas. Now, on a serious note, how about Russia and Ukraine? You guys talk about that last week?
I mean, I've been at least in the group chat, I've been not advocating for, but advocating for the reality that it's likely to happen.
Putin's not messing around. Like, I sent that. Did you guys watch that?
Which the group chat video? No. I'm sorry, dude. It's TikTok.
It won't let me. It won't let me watch it without downloading TikTok.
All right, hold on. Let me pause for 1 second.
I mean,
all right. Anyway, so
we're not on, right?
I keep trying to watch it. Every time you say, I'm like, let me see if it'll let me watch it.
I did, but I'm gonna.
It takes me to the website, and it won't let me watch it unless I download it. I guess I'm not downloading.
It's Russian, but like it has the content over it,
subtitles. Yeah.
So you'll have to read his thing.
I want to reiterate, I have said this before, but I would really like to hear this time and convey this message to your readers, viewers, and internet users. Do you realize that if Ukraine joins NATO and decides to take Crimea back through military means, the European countries will automatically get drawn into military conflict with Russia? Of course, NATO's united potential and that of Russia are incomparable. We understand that, but we also understand that Russia is one of the world's leading nuclear powers and is superior to many of those countries in terms of numbers of modern nuclear weapons, but there will be no winners. And you will find yourself drawn into this conflict against your will. You will be fulfilling paragraph 5 of the Treaty of Rome in a heartbeat, even before you know it. Of course, the President does not want to see development unfold in this way. I do not want it either. This is why he is here and has been tormenting me for 6 hours now with his questions, guarantees, and solutions. What president is he referencing?
I don't know.
Trudeau, or French.
Macron.
I believe this is a lofty mission, and I find compromises that suit everyone. For our part, we will do something.
Я говорил.
So that was it.
But
So,
like
so Putin has his own TikTok account?
no, this is just an interview that someone
I
posted.
mean, it looked like it was posted by Vladimir Dot whatever.
Oh, maybe he does have his own, but like
I'm
that's
just like wondering like where that came from and like where the translation came from. Just
and that's a good question. If we have any Russian followers, if they could actually translate it, I'm assuming it's a news conference. And I mean, if you're obviously translating his name wrong like that, well, I mean, I wouldn't put that past people. But like, if all that is 100% accurate, that's fucking scary.
Well, but okay, so like I think one of the things that I haven't seen in media in general, except for some of my fringe podcasts or whatever, is if Mexico was joining an alliance with Russia and China, what would we do?
We'd probably push back on it.
I mean, that's essentially what's going on right now. I mean, it is the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. It's the same thing we did when Cuba entered an alliance with Russia back in the 60s or whatever during the Cold War. Fuck you. You are not allowed to bring that shit over here into our hemisphere.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
like today,
And it's not that I agree with it. It's not that Putin's the good guy here. I'm not giving him credit for whatever, but it's one of those, like, we never have this conversation with any modicum of an idea that what would we do if we were sitting where he is? And we would be doing exactly what he's doing.
yeah, and but
If not more.
But this is the situation is like if Ukraine joins NATO and Putin invades Ukraine, then all the NATO countries are obligated to enter into that war. And so he's basically saying, don't fucking let him.
Right.
Like,
That's been the whole point of this thing.
yeah, I mean, so, but
And it's as simple as... And we did talk about this.
we shouldn't have any part of that. Like, this is not fucking concern of... I guess
Right.
it's a concern of the United States on if that actually happens and World War III happens. And if that fucking happens, we need to stay the hell out of it.
Well, as of right now, my understanding of it is that NATO invited Ukraine in. All we have to do is rescind the invitation. What is it? Is NATO, Ukraine asked
Now,
for it?
Ukraine petitioned to join. I don't think that the NATO has
Okay, well,
accepted them.
Then why isn't NATO... Then right now, why isn't NATO being like, no, your petition is not okay?
That's what I'm saying.
It's the same
I
thing.
don't understand.
It's a simple... This could be over in 10 seconds if it's just like, Ukraine, we appreciate that you want to be here. And honestly, we would like you to be here, but it's not in anybody's best interest, including yours, for us to let you into NATO.
We're not going to let you in NATO, but we'll give you $600 million, which is what we did. We gave them... If you look up how much the United States has given Ukraine in the last 5 years, it's pretty impressive. And then Biden said that, like, or who's that last one?
Where does Russia get a say on who joins NATO?
They don't.
Okay.
But
Well, then who are we to say that the Ukraine should not join NATO?
because we will be at least a significant portion of the military arm of the conflict that will come from when Ukraine joins. Putin has been very clear on this, and I would say rightfully so. Use my Mexico example as the thing. Russia says, do not let Ukraine into NATO. We are not okay with that. That is a border country. We do not want any border countries to be part of NATO. And while we do not have the economic and military strength to really go head-to-head with you guys, we do have the nukes to play games. So, do not let Ukraine in. It's a pretty straightforward statement. And again, understandable from the perspective of the Russians. I don't agree with it per se, but I could understand that mindset, because if Canada joined with China and Russia right now in some treaty, we would freak the fuck out. And we'd be like, no, this is not okay. We're not okay with a border country being part of your alliance because of the things that you were a part of or whatever. That's the same. It's the same mindset. And do you not think that we would have a problem?
I mean, you could, in your Canada example, yes, we could voice our concerns, but we have no say over what treaty Canada and China would be entering into.
You're right. We don't have an official... We don't have the veto power to say, no, you're not allowed to do this. But what we would do is we would say, you're not allowed to do this, and then, or we'll take action.
We've given
Do you
them...
wanna
So
take
we
that
would say,
action?
you're not allowed to do this.
Absolutely.
We're not saying you can't do it. We're saying you're not allowed to do it.
I would think that would be the situation, Max. You got.
We're not saying that you can't do something. I'm not saying you can't go out when it's dark outside.
No,
you're just not allowed to.
You're right. Let me rephrase what I think would be the reality of the statement. It's like you're allowed to, but if you do, this is what's going to happen, and you're not going to like it. How is that a better way to say it? You can certainly. You are welcome to do that thing, but when you do, we're going to fucking murder you.
Your wording is more precise. Yes.
How is that? Which is essentially
that's basically what he said.
Right. Which is essentially us saying you can't do that. It's a better way to say it. You're right, but it's the same sentiment. You cannot do that, or bad things are going to happen. That's what Russia is saying right now. You cannot do that, or bad things are going to happen. It's the same thing we would do here. And why is it not just the simple solution to saying, sorry, Ukraine, we understand that you want to be a part of this, and honestly, we'd like you to be here, but it is not worth letting you in. Sorry. That sucks.
Okay, we're saying, and your Canada example, we start amassing troops, which I'm not going to get into what is or isn't happening on.
Right, that's a very one, because that's all sorts of crazy shit. Yeah.
Some people say,
there's reports of in and out,
back, and they're doing military exercises or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, we have troops on the Canadian, U.S., American border. Like, you can't do that. Bad things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But there are bordering countries with Russia that are in NATO.
Right. And there was a lot of tension every time it happened.
Yeah.
But
like Crimea, and I could be wrong, and you could correct me, but Crimea that Russia has, Crimea that has taken, that used to be part of Yugoslavia. Of Ukraine.
Yeah, that was post-Sochi action. That was we doped all our athletes, won a bunch of medals. We're taking Crimea back.
Yeah, and they took Crimea back, which is. And there's so when people are like, well, he has not invaded yet. Well, yeah, he has. He's already invaded.
Well, and there's apparently a lot of portions of eastern Ukraine that actually border Russia that the citizenry would more consider themselves Russian than Ukrainians.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people that were going those bordering cities who were going to Russia.
And there's a bunch of Nazis, like actual factual Nazis, not like social justice Nazis that we talk about all the time, like actual Nazis in eastern Ukraine that are kind of the rebel force against some of the Russia stuff that we're funding. Is that not true? Am I making shit up again?
No, it is.
We've given social justice Nazis.
Like there's the people out there that'll say Joe Rogan's a Nazi. I'm saying not that kind of Nazi. I'm talking about actually like white supremacist, real, master race Nazis that still exist in Europe, in Ukraine, that are fighting against the Russians that we are funding currently.
$650 million in the last year.
Those kind of Nazis, not the Joe Rogan kind of Nazis. That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's what to go into the social justice bullshit part. That's the problem with calling everybody Nazis, is when they're actual Nazis doing shit. It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
We don't get to say actual factual Nazis.
Okay, and if you're going to push back on their misuse of it, then don't promulgate the use of it.
Okay. Sadly, because of the world we live in, I felt like I needed to specify that these are real Nazis, not the weird everybody's a Nazi social justice warrior version of Nazi. Like, Trump is not a Nazi. These people in eastern Ukraine are actual Nazis. That kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I don't care what we call these people. I just think that, like, this could be... And the United States needs to stay out of it. But we're part of NATO, so... Right. If the shit happens and we allow Ukraine to join NATO, then we're going to be pulled into a war that we don't need to fucking be in.
Right. But I mean, if it's a good distraction if you're if you're.
I mean, it'll help Canada out with what they're going through right now.
Yeah.
We got more important things to worry about than masks.
Yeah, because I mean, Canada's a NATO country too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll be sending guys over there.
So.
And we'll be sending guys over there. Then we've already got, 8,000 people over there? In Poland and Romania and whatnot?
Okay.
I'm not sure.
NATO countries.
Did you see the clip
Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, Netherlands, Northern Macedonia.
Does that list have, like, how many actual troops each of those countries contribute to situations?
No. Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Turkey, United Kingdom, United States.
I mean, I think it's...
Which is 90% of those countries. They were like, here's our 4 guys we sent you.
I mean, that's an aside. I'd agree. That's what, as much as we could hate on Trump for a lot of things, that was one of the things I liked about Trump. Trump was like, why are we always the majority of any of these NATO missions? Why is our military and our people the majority of the not just money, but actual people that are going into these different situations?
Well, I mean, so NATO, like, United States should not be in NATO at all. Like, you can call whatever you want.
I mean, we touched the North Atlantic. It makes sense.
No. But
Turkey being part of it makes less sense just by title.
But when you have American troops that are doing stuff around the world that are under a NATO general that is not from the United States and being commanded to do stuff under NATO, that goes against the Constitution by having American troops.
Do you get that pocket Constitution for us yet?
Do what?
Have you found the pocket Constitution? You're going to get us one?
Pocket Constitution. But, like, you can't have foreign troops.
You said last week you were going to get us one.
You can't have foreign leaders directing American troops.
Right.
And it happens. And, like, I don't know why that's the thing.
I didn't know that was in the Constitution. I mean, I believe it. I just didn't know that was the thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw it on raghead.com, and so it's got to be true.
It must be true. I think that has made that random website, whatever bullshit, has made an appearance in almost every show this year. Whether you're here or not.
It was a great website.
I'm sure it is. I don't doubt it. We could get into the entertainment argument about it being part of the thing too, if we want.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, it's a scary situation because it seemed like. Did you guys see I think it was like the CIA guy doing a press conference about the. We have intel that Russia's going to do a false flag crisis actor kind of thing where they're going to go out and make some sort of action that gives them the excuse to invade. Did you see that press conference?
I didn't see that press conference. I did hear some talk of it, and as far as in the past few days, is from the American standpoint of trying to make at least the American public abreast of the situation and trying to forewarn, like, hey, instead of, I guess, trying to get in front of that false flag if it were to happen.
Well, essentially what it was, and there's a guy, I can't remember who the journalist was, that was, on the detail at this press conference or whatever. He's like, what evidence do you guys have? Well, we declassified it. Where is the documentation? He's like, I just told you. And they're like, but what's the evidence? The evidence is that we declassified and I just told you. So that's not evidence, that's just you telling me something and then telling me it was classified before. That's not evidence. Like, there's this whole back and forth. There's a really interesting exchange. Because, the whole idea of it was this guy was like, okay. I think he even made, what's his name, the crazy podcaster, false flag, the Sandy Hook guy.
Oh, Alex Jones.
He even sort of made an Alex Jones reference to this guy that was running the press conference. He's like, you're talking about crisis action, and this is some Alex Jones level shit you're talking about right now. Where's the evidence? It's like, I just told you. And he's like, no, you told me that you said it was going to happen. That's not evidence. That's just you telling me a thing. Where's the evidence for this thing that's happening? And he's like, well, I can get you a transcript. It's like a transcript of the conversation we're having right now. It's like, yeah, that's the evidence because it was declassified. I couldn't tell you about it if it wasn't true. It was a really crazy, I need to find it. It's a really crazy exchange. But it's literally the guys out there being like, well, I told you, so it's fact. It's like, well, I'm a journalist. I don't believe you just telling me. Give me some proof. And the fact that you're telling me isn't proof. And his argument was, well, if I told you, it must be true. It's crazy. It's a really crazy exchange. What are you looking at?
Just current Ukraine 36 minutes ago news.
No.
I'm just seeing if there's anything.
But I mean, there was a statement from the prime minister or whatever, the president of Ukraine or whatever, and it basically was saying it looks like our dream of joining NATO is only a dream. It was him acknowledging the fact that it's probably a bad idea, but nobody's really talking about that part of it. Ukraine seems to understand
Vladimir Zelensky.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, to me, this feels like a divorced parents fight. Like the kid who's actually suffering the consequences, like the real consequences of everything that's going on, is completely neglected in the conversation. We're just yelling over their head.
Yeah,
This isn't about you anymore, kid. This is us. We got our own shit. We got history to deal with.
I don't think it really has anything to do with NATO.
What do you think?
I agree. It doesn't have anything to do with NATO, and we just need to stay away.
What's it about if it's not NATO? If it's not this whole thing with Russia being like no NATO countries on our border?
They've had tensions for years. And I don't think it had anything to do with NATO.
But it
there's been fighting, rebel fighting on the eastern side of Ukraine and Russia for years. Like you said, there's a section of Ukraine that feels they are more aligned with Russia. So it's only been amplified since the Russians came over and took Crimea. And we're like, oh no, that was ours.
But that's I think
I don't care what was decided, diplomatically. We're drawing national lines. Like, there's enough Russian-speaking people there.
Well, I agree with you that it has nothing to do with NATO. But if Ukraine joins NATO, then it has something to do with NATO. But like right now, it does not have anything to do with NATO. But if Russia decides to invade Czechoslovakia, who's part of NATO, we are obligated to defend Czechoslovakia from that invasion. Not saying we should. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they can take half of Europe as far as I care. I mean, I don't think we need to be sending American troops anywhere.
But as NATO, yeah, we agreed that attack on one is attack on all.
Isn't that what World War I was all about?
Not really.
All the crazy alliances that had happened, and once some random guy got assassinated, A went to war with B. B had an alliance with C, D, and E.
Yeah.
So F, G, and H had to jump in too because they were in alliance with A in the first place. And so now we have the First World War because of a bunch of crazy alliances. And the real question is, what's the point? Like, what's the point of all these alliances? What are we really after here? Is what's the is this an economics thing? Is this a trade thing? So the companies have better whatever? Is this a humanitarian conversation? What is the value here?
Okay, so I'm not too much of a history buff, but like obviously we were at war with Germany and Japan, right? World War II.
Mm-hmm.
How did that? I really don't know how that came about. Was like Japan going, oh, they're fighting over here, so let's fuck them up over here, just jump in? Because they were not. Japan and Germany were not allies.
I mean, they were in the sense that they were both fighting Russia. There was a big part of the Japan allied with Germany because of the Russia part. Like Hitler had sent, I don't remember the whole history of it, but Hitler had sent some people over because Japan was in their imperial stage and they were going into China and they were going into that Korea's and the very eastern portions of Russia and stuff like that. And essentially it was, philosophically, no, they had nothing in common. Like there was nothing about Japan.
Hitler would be kill the fucking Japanese people.
Right. There was nothing about Japan and Germany that on the philosophy made sense, but on the military strategist, it's a enemy of my enemy kind of thing. It's for the Germans, it was if Japan is involved and they're doing stuff in eastern Russia, that takes some Russian forces over there and lowers how much we have to deal with in the Polands and the Yugoslavias and whatever they were back then, because they've all changed names 10,000 times.
I've always thought about that.
It was of convenience. And I mean, honestly, if had Japan not really thrown us into the game, who knows what would have happened? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know how much actual appetite, for lack of a better word, America had to get involved directly until Pearl Harbor. So,
Pearl Harbor got us involved in the
entire war. We weren't in Europe directly prior to Pearl Harbor.
So that's what I'm trying to draw
we were.
So then here's another question.
I mean, we were economically allied a little bit. To the point where there was what was it? There was some U-boat action of like supply ships because we were selling stuff to the UK and to France and to Germany at that time at some level. But there were some like freighters that German U-boats had sunk. And so at some point we'd stopped doing any business with Germany. So there was an economic war that we had with Germany before we had the physical war with them. But we were not actually engaged in U.S. troops getting over into Europe until after Pearl Harbor.
So, and here's another question. So we dropped 3 bombs. Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and just 2?
I mean,
nuclear bombs.
Bikini Island was it?
We did much more damage with just incendiary bombs.
But what I'm saying is, like, we did that. We're like, oh, that shut them down. Why did we not do that with Germany? Why did we not drop a fucking nuclear bomb on Berlin?
Hear about Dresden?
Were we already done at that point?
I don't. As far as I understood it, we were not confident in the capability of the nuclear bomb until after VE Day, where we had already taken Berlin. And
yeah, I don't know the exact timeline.
Right, and it was a question of, because that's when we had started to work through a bunch of the islands and stuff, and we're making our way towards actual Japan itself. We had already finished in Europe. All those European soldiers were coming home and getting refitted and then getting pushed over into the Pacific, and Truman was stuck with the question, do I take all these guys that have been in Europe for 4 or 5 years, have been through so much shit already, and pack them right back up and send them over there? To which, at the time, the assumption was if we try to do a ground invasion of Japan, there's going to be mass casualties, or we can bring out this new toy and see if that could shut this thing down. And so that's where Truman made the decision of, let's see if we can just end this without actually having to set foot on Japanese soil.
Okay, so 1945.
This is funny. It's a good follow on Facebook, people. City of Knoxville, KNOXVULL. It's like a parody Knoxville Facebook page. They did they're making fun of the Sunsphere's reopened. I didn't realize it had closed.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about that, but hold on, I gotta look this up.
Okay, look that up and we'll go. But anyway, they're making fun of apparently there's a fee to go on the deck, on the observation deck now, where it used to be free.
Where are they collecting it at the?
I don't know, because there's never anybody there.
The elevator, yeah.
Every time we've gone, it's been just like walk in, walk around.
Now, I'm trying to see when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
August 45.
As compared to what? When did
August 6, 1945. August 6, 1945.
We're hearing a real interesting story of a guy that was actually within
August
6th. May 8th was V-Day, 1945.
VE Day.
Yeah. So May, June, July, August. So yeah, 3 months later is when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Okay, that follows. We already had them beat. No, but the Sunsphere kind of thing is.
Hold on, say I was getting on something before we move on.
I was saying, heard a really interesting story of they found a guy that was actually within, I'd say like a 50 to 100 mile radius or less of both.
And survived both of them?
And survived both. Yeah, the first one, he ended up like diving in a thing. Apparently he worked at like some kind of, I don't know if it was like Mitsubishi or Suzuki, some like major corporation. Like,
no, you're such a racist.
Yeah.
He worked at it.
But he worked there, go. Yeah.
Yeah, he was within one, and then like went to work like the next morning and was trying to tell his friends of like, what the hell he just went through, and they didn't believe him. I guess news didn't travel as fast or some shit.
That's crazy.
We're like, oh, what are you talking about? And then he was there when the second one went off, and I can't remember which one was first. But he was within like 50-mile blast radius of both of the atomic bombs, and went on to have kids and grandkids.
Good for him. Anyway, Sunsphere.
Yeah, I saw that on the news the other day about like they reopened it from COVID or whatever, and now there's like, so when you just go up the elevator and go off and just look. Now they have like a kiosk up there that sells like souvenirs and stuff, and you have to pay $5 to walk around. Tip top.
That's the kind of, okay. It's kind of lame. We own it. Well, I don't. You do. We don't. We're not city residents. He is.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're charging people now.
And it's not like it's a great view anyway.
No, it's cool to go up there and, oh, that's cool. I went up to the top of it and...
I think third grade, there's a history project. and both kids did the Sunsphere.
I just want to know what that money is going for. To pay the salary of the person sitting there?
Right.
Upkeep from something that was built in 1982.
No, I want to know what the money is going to. Like, is it going for the upkeep?
I'll see. I'll get Stephanie. I'll call Stephanie and we'll get Stephanie on the show.
And I'm pretty sure. I mean, last I knew him. I mean, years ago, we were renting a place, and their realty company their office was in the Sunsphere. So it's kind of interesting to go up there a few times, drop off the rent check.
Yeah, there's.
Can I look at your view real quick?
There's been a restaurant on and off up there, or club, or whatever, and it just never seems to stick around because
you had to pay $5 to go up there.
Maybe there's no road to park, and yeah,
there's no.
I'm sure they're paying a premium to have their office in a Sunsphere.
I just don't know why. Why would you pay that premium? Like, what is the value to you? Like, it impresses our clients that they get to come up here and see.
Are you sure it wasn't a wig company?
We totally did that when the eldest did the project. I printed off that. I printed off the photo from The Simpsons when it fell over and all the wigs fell out. Oh, I mean, I don't know. Like that's one of those projects, city projects that I can't wrap my head around it. I'm sure there's some logic to it. I just can't wrap my head around how that is a net value to Knoxville. Still, like that's a big chunk of land.
Are you saying they need to tear that down and put a high rise up there? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. I don't know.
It's not a large footprint.
Yeah, it's a pretty big footprint.
Not really.
So you have the weird little water feature. Like you have what's that road right there that the bridge is on? Because you have two. You have the big lawn. You have the big lawn on one side, and then the big lawn on the other side, and then the water feature, and then you have the hotel complex with the convention center, and then the standalone convention center. I mean, that's a lot of space. Like in square, like in.
I thought you were talking about the Sunsphere.
In realtor square footage, no, the whole leftovers from the World's Fair project.
So you're saying they should just demolish that and put up what?
I'm not saying they should do anything.
You're just saying that's a lot of.
The rest of it is the World's Fair Park.
Right.
Okay.
Like, what is wrong with you?
I don't know.
Like, do they go? I mean, we can make the same argument with, what's it called New York Central Park. That is a lot of value there.
You're right. Okay, and I'll give you the green space side of the World's Fair Park, but the actual convention center itself and the hotel that's on top of it, and then the other building that is part of the convention center or whatever, and all that square footage of, I don't know, like we have the Fantasy of Trees there. When's the last time you actually went to an event in the convention center?
This year. Well, not this year.
What's some reptile?
Last year.
Hey,
no, with Comic-Con.
The Bass Classic's coming there next year.
That's
the
true.
Super Bowl
Fanboy.
of bass fishing.
Yeah. I mean, I know they do stuff there. I'm just saying, like,
Right.
My kids had like sporting events and stuff there. Like, I've been there a bunch.
So we're still. I mean, it's.
I mean,
it's still on the books. I guess for as long as it's been there, it's still on the books that the city is paying off loans.
I don't think we've had enough there to make it worth however much it costs to build that.
Are you talking about Sunfair or are you talking about the convention center?
The convention center.
Right, we're talking about the whole thing.
There's stuff there all the time, though. Constantly. Like, every weekend there's something there. I mean, it may not be something you're interested in, but if you drive down Henley Street on a Friday or Saturday, you see all sorts of people walking in.
Parts of it, but that's not using up the whole convention center.
Right. But I guess this whole, for me, this whole thing kind of started with we can't get a restaurant. Like, there's been restaurants and clubs or whatever at the top of the Sunsphere over and over again, and they can't do it because you can't park down there. But we have all these other events that are going on down there that people go to, despite the lack of parking.
No, there's parking.
So you can go to the building that's literally, like, underneath the Sunsphere and not have an issue with parking there, but it's an issue to go to the Sunsphere for parking.
What's underneath the Sunsphere?
Like, okay, so for the picture we're looking at, for those watching, I'm sorry, but for the picture we're looking at, literally where this cuts off at the bottom, is the convention center.
Yes.
And then on the other side of the bridge,
but on the other side of the convention center, there's a high-rise parking structure.
Right, but again, so if there's parking for the building that's right here, why isn't there parking for the building that we're looking at?
There is parking for that. You just have to park over there.
But this whole thing started with we can't get a club or restaurant to functionally stay in the Sunsphere because it's a cool idea, but nobody wants to go down there because it's hard to park.
I never said that.
I'm just saying that's what.
I mean, you make that same argument for all those restaurants on Market Square. There's a ton of restaurants on Market Square, and then people find
I would push back on the argument that there is a problem with parking downtown. I don't think there's a problem. I don't think there's actually a parking problem with downtown.
I mean, anytime I've ever had to go downtown for anything.
I just think there's a weirdism of that section of the edge of downtown not being as connected. Like, it somehow seems like because you have to cross Gay Street, it's further away. Like, there's something about it.
There's a walkway that you don't have to go to the red light.
Yes, there's a footbridge.
and straight from the parking garage. You don't have to walk down.
I know.
You walk straight across.
I 100% agree with you, but I feel like that's just the sense that to go to the Sunsphere, to go to the bar restaurant in the Sunsphere is like epically far away, but you could go to whatever it is, Prez Pub or whatever in Market Square, and it's not that big a deal. It's like they're not far away at all. It's easy to park and go down and do Market Square stuff, but it's somehow not easy to park and go do stuff at the World's Fair Park.
I disagree.
I disagree as well.
I go down the World's Fair Park. I mean, I'm for all sorts of stuff at the convention center.
The one that's a pain in the ass to park at is to try to get into the city county building to do shit. That's the one that's pain in the dick.
Yeah, you got to park all the way down the street. Across Gay Street, and then have to walk.
Because you're doing it during business hours, you got to pay for parking.
Yeah. They used to have parking at the city county building, and then they made it only for...
buses?
No, it's just for people that work there.
How is parking an issue going to the city county building? Not an issue if you're just trying to go downtown or to Market Square. You're still parking in a parking garage that's 2 blocks away.
I know, I was fucking around.
Oh, okay. I was like,
no
am I missing something here?
I mean, I'm half fucking around because like the only time I go down there to do anything, is either after business hours or on the weekends, and then you don't have to pay for parking.
Okay, it's a pain in the ass. I mean, I think it's just something that most Knoxvillians, quote unquote, aren't used to.
Right.
Parking a couple blocks away and parking in a parking garage.
Did you see the sound cameras on the talk about downtown bullshit?
There's one.
Oh, I heard.
I think it goes in both directions, but it's at one intersection.
That's a thing, though. They're testing right now.
I don't have an issue.
To go along with all the other cameras that are just taking your plate because you're around.
I don't have an issue with it.
I think it's weird.
My car's not like has a muffler.
Are they ticketing anybody for it?
I don't know. I mean, that's the plan. That's the idea behind it. What are they doing?
They're not.
Okay, so who are these fucking people that live downtown that got to be all hoity-toity and shit? Like, they complained about the Tennessee Theater's new fucking lights hanging up that were shining too bright, so then I got to be turned off at a certain time or some shit.
I hadn't heard that story. Tell me more.
No, that was a few years ago when the Tennessee Theater reopened.
Right. It goes very well in line with this sound ordinance camera thing that's going on.
Yeah, and then people were complaining that the lights for the new Tennessee Theater sign were too bright.
Like, I mean, I don't disagree that dickheads with no mufflers on their cars are dickheads. I mean, I agree.
But like, if you're living downtown,
that's why you live downtown.
That's like you want right? The bright lights and all that kind of shit. You get fucking tinting on your window then, or blinds. You know, like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I mean, I see the sound argument better than the light argument, but
it would be like somebody going, "Oh, parking sucks downtown for me to live in this high-rise building somewhere." Like, you knew that moving downtown. You think people in New York are like, oh, "Parking's great"?
I mean, that's my same argument though. With like, because I mean, again, okay, so going back to the local politics kind of thing, I got these county commissioners in, and as I'm getting a better understanding of what the actual job is and what the real influence the county commission actually has on day-to-day going on, the biggest thing county commission does is land use. They change, like, so we have all the county planning stuff going on, and we have the different, like, this piece of land is designated as residential Y, 3 houses per acre max, that kind of stuff, and like all the different stuff that they do in that department. And so it's this whole question of like there's been all sorts of accusations going on about certain people running for county commission are in the developers' pockets, and whatever the developers want, the county commissioner is going to do, and this kind of that. And it's like, well, same kind of free market thing you're talking about. You move downtown to be in the middle of it, so you can't complain about being in the middle of it when it's happening. Well, it's like if you move into some big development that goes in way out in Hardin Valley, and it's an old country road that's been around forever, that's the only way to get in and out of your development, whose fault is that? Should we as Knox County residents have our tax money pulled to build up that road to make it more accessible for your neighborhood because you wanted to move into that house? I don't know. It's a weird spot.
I mean, if you move out in the country and you're out in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden they put a NASCAR speedway next to your house, okay, I can understand you arguing like, I bought property out of the country. But if you buy a loft above Preservation Pub and they complain that there's drunks outside yelling and there's loud music, you knew what you were getting into when you fucking bought a loft above Preservation Pub.
I mean, I think those two things kind of line up closer than you. I think the example of putting a speedway in next door is a little bit extreme, but putting you go in and buy a house in a new development, and it's the last one. Like past that, it gets real country. But then some developer comes along and takes that farm next to your development and turns that farm into a new development. You're pissed off because there's another development. It's like, well,
you're stupid. You know what? The person's house that was at the entry of your subdivision is pissed off that they built those houses that you're living in now.
Right. And that's the constant thing at play here. And it's like, how do we manage those things? And it's one of those, like, I don't know what the answer is, and nobody else does.
I mean, next to my house,
just do.
The fruit and berry patch that Mr. Fox owned for years and years. Then he died, and his kids sold to a developer. And now, instead of seeing these apple fields, and I can't go get my little apple cider and stuff from them and go get my pumpkins is now a subdivision.
Is that place gone? The fruit and berry patch?
Oh yeah, it's a subdivision now. And I could be like pissed, but it doesn't affect me. It just affects that I can't get their fruit pies and their slushies and pumpkins.
Right, but the fruit pies are good.
Regardless of your of the current craziness in the housing market, that new development going in kicked up 10, 20. I mean, you paid more for that house because the development went in.
No, I bought my house before that development went in.
Your house is now worth more because that development went in because of it. And so, I mean, I get it. It's a weird conversation because, like, everybody looks at me sideways, and I even look at myself sideways when I say it out loud. But nobody's having a conversation about whether or not we want the growth. Now, we can't deny growth. Like, it's going to happen. We can't stop people from moving to Knox County. It's going to happen. But there are measures that we could take to slow it down. There are things that we could do to make it less of less volume, or at least more expensive.
Yeah, to have a Tennessee driver's license to buy a house and property in Knoxville.
But you don't like when a developer comes and when a developer buys like a 5-acre plot and it's currently zoned to have 1 house per acre, and that developer comes, can I put 3 houses per acre? You just say no. It's that easy. And then if the actual value of the houses go way up, not just that house, but the ones around those houses, but the ones around it, because we have we have a supply issue, not issue, but the demand is outpacing supply. So all of us that own houses get to have value go up. It's a conversation worth having. It's not happening. It's literally growth is the answer always, and that's the thing that I'm not sure I'm okay with, because growth is the answer always gets us to buy a baseball stadium. Growth is always the answer, which gets us to keep redoing the convention center. Growth is always the answer, puts a lot of these different things in play that may or may not always be the right moves. But we never discussed it on whether growth is a problem or not.
For who? Like, might not be the right move for who? You?
Well, but again, we don't have the conversation.
Knoxville? Who? Like, when you said may not be the right move, who?
That's where a lot of the debate comes down to is what's benefiting whom.
I agree, but I was saying that conversation not been had. Period. At least for the politics in general in Knox County, not city, Knox County, growth is always the answer. And it's like, well, we keep voting them in, so I guess, yes, we agree with that.
I mean, growth is the answer to every business, and the city is a business.
I suppose. I mean, again, I don't disagree with the conversation, and I'm not saying I'm against growth. I would just like to hear the conversation about the whys and the hows a little bit more than just the growth period. Just growth. We want more businesses. We want more residents. We want more.
Well, I mean, then you need to go back to whoever founded Knoxville back in the day, and what did they do to stop growth?
Nothing, obviously, because it's...
No, they did.
What?
I mean, if you look at... So, through Knoxville, you have 2 major interstates. You have 40 and 75 that cross in Knoxville. If you look all over the country...
3 sort of... 81 sort of counts, but...
But 2 major that go across the country. And if you look all across the country where you have 2 major intersections, 2 major highways that cross, it's huge cities.
Right. And Knoxville is not that.
Right. Like, Nashville should be... I mean, if you look at around, the capital should be Knoxville. But it's not. And what's the reason behind that? How did they divert major industry away from Knoxville?
Right. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, Knoxville could be bigger than it is. I agree with that.
And you can look across the United States, it should be, but it's not. So why is it not?
So I don't know. I mean, I don't think about it because, I mean, Nashville's 3. 40.
Yeah, 40.
40, 85? Not 85. 65. 24.
Yeah, but those are not, I mean, I'm talking about major. Like when you look at across the United States, interstates that run from one side of the coast to the other side of the coast.
Right. 40, 65. We're 40, 75. Memphis is 40, 45 or whatever the north-south is that goes up with, 40 in Mississippi River.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I follow your logic. I do. But I mean, you still I don't know, Milwaukee's not. Milwaukee's 95. It's just on 95.
But where's Milwaukee sit? On the coast?
I mean, it's on Lake Michigan, yeah.
So coastal,
but Chicago is the 95 and 20? No.
Yeah. So that varies. Yeah, it varies when you go to cities that have ports that are on a waterway for commerce. That changes.
I mean, Denver, Denver's whatever the 60
I-25 and
60 maybe.
No, I-25.
I'd say there's a lot more exceptions to the rule. I mean, Dallas-Fort Worth is one of the largest cities in the U.S., and there's not two major north, south, east, west interstates that run through there.
There's 10.
You have 10, and then you have 40, I think.
40 does go to Dallas, you're right. But it's still east-west, east-west. They're both east-west. There's no north-south. I mean, there is probably somewhere, but... Anywho, I mean, I agree that Knoxville should be bigger than it is. I agree with that.
I'd say the mountains have something to do with it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, because I know they say that we have some of the, like, as far as our interstate traffic, like our per capita interstate traffic is above what it should be. Because all the trucks that run through here, especially with the 81 split, because, if you're going Memphis to D.C.,
right,
you go through here and go up 81 into Virginia and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
If you're going Florida to Detroit, you're going through here. That's why I have so much Detroit mafia shit or whatever that goes on in Knoxville, because it's easy to leave Detroit and come to Knoxville for some reason. It's just a thing. But anywhere in Ohio,
you gotta pass right through.
Like, I mean, anywhere in like Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania to Alabama, Georgia, Florida, you're coming through here for it.
Yeah, but I'd say Atlanta doesn't have a really big east to west interstate.
Yeah, but they have
75 that runs through.
They have 3 north south. They have 75, 85, and they have one more too. I have to look at the map of Atlanta. But I think you go Atlanta to Augusta, and then you go to Auburn, and I think there's one that goes from Atlanta to like through Mississippi and Louisiana and that shit. But 10 doesn't go through Atlanta.
Oh, I don't know about 10.
Like 10 is like the south coast, like the southern border. Like it goes like Jacksonville to Dallas to San Diego. Does 10 go all the way to San Diego? Yeah. Like I remember like learning that and thinking it was like an amazing thing. Just a really simple, smart thing that somebody did. It's like, I guess the Eisenhower, when he put the interstate program in place, it's like odd numbers go north-south, even numbers go east-west.
Yeah.
And it's really zeros go east-west, 5s go north-south, and then all our little extras are the other ones. Which I don't know. Have you ever seen an interstate something 2?
There's one.
Yeah, there's one down Key West. Yeah.
Oh, there's one at PCH. There's one that goes up California.
Yeah, because again, it's the interstates that go east-west are 10, 20, 30, 40 as they go north. So I'd say probably, realistically, 20 goes through Atlanta. I bet you. That'd be my guess. Either 20 or 30, because it's 10 up to 90, and because the 90 is like Maine or like northeast, and then like to Seattle. And then, but it's backwards. It's west coast to east coast as far as the north.
It is 20, Atlanta.
Is it 20? Nice.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's designed that way. It's genius. It's super smart. And so, like, West Coast is 5s. So 5, 15, 25, 35 starts west and ends with 95 that goes up the East Coast through from Miami to Jacksonville to Charleston, South Carolina, up through DC and all that stuff, that's 95. And so like the highest, so west to east is the smallest 5 to the highest 5. South to north is the lowest 0 to the highest 0. It's a really stupid, simple, it's a very military mindset. Let's do this the easy way. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, work our way up. 5, 15, 25, 35, left to right.
I don't think it's all states, but I think a lot of them do where the exits are the actual mile marker on that interstate.
I think that's a standard on the interstates at least. I don't know if other highways and tollways.
I think it's mostly common, but I think there's still some weird exceptions to the rule.
I think in some places that you have to get an exception to have more than one per mile. Cities like downtown areas that have multiple exits, there you have to get exceptions from the Department of Transportation or whatever to have more than one exit per mile, to have all the A's and B's and shit. So that was an interesting run in the history of roadways.
Why Knoxville's not big.
Yeah. And again, I agree with the premise. I understand the idea, especially with the way our tax structure works and all the other stuff that we have going on. There's no reason Knoxville shouldn't be a strong number 3, if not floating around hinting at maybe number 2 in the state, because of the history of the way the intersections work. It makes sense. But again, it's there's methods to do the things, and I don't. And again, the point of that whole thing was, are we having that conversation, or is it just good old fashioned business practices? You can hide all things in more sales. You can hide all things in growth. All problems are hidden in growth.
Yes,
because we don't have to worry about debt because we're going to pay it off because the tax rolls get bigger. We don't have to worry about this because and that's another one thing. It's another one of those things that. It's a really, because I think it was Larson when I was talking to him the other day. It's he was talking about, he's we were talking about that infrastructure thing. It's Hardin Valley's it's one of the big conversations right now. Hardin Valley's got so much development and not enough infrastructure to support it. And he's but if we went and approved and spent hundreds of $1 million on building infrastructure for development that wasn't there yet, we'd get reamed. And it's maybe. Probably short term. I'd be pissed off that you're spending a bunch of money on things on a section of town where nobody lives. But when the development goes and catches up, you look like a genius. Mm-hmm. But you've already turned out, and you're not running for office again by the time it catches up. And so it's these systems that the government systems are influencing these actions. It could have very well been within the realm of conversation to say, hey, this Hardin Valley area is a good place. We could see a lot of growth. Let's go ahead and build out a lot of this infrastructure so as and make it attractive to these developers to come in and do stuff. But we'll already have the infrastructure in place, so when they do, it's easy. Instead of having to do the infrastructure after the fact where it's harder and more complicated and blah, 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 blah.
Like the bridge of nowhere.
Right.
But I honestly don't see why they didn't think of that.
But it's not because it's not politically advantageous. I'm going to go run. I'm going to run for office. I'm going to get there right now, and I'm going to say, the Halls, northeast Knox County, which is the most rural part of Knox County that's left. We're going to focus on getting infrastructure built up over there, so that these developers can come in and make that section of town more populous, but have the infrastructure in place. That's not going to sell well because by the time the infrastructure gets put into place, the developers start catching up. I'm already going to be booted out of office because I got either term limited. Or I'm not going to get voted in again because everybody's like, he spent a bunch of money on nothing. Look out there on the east part of Emory where he put all this money into all this infrastructure and there's nobody there because it's not politically advantageous to do it. So the politics of it are influencing the decision making and not anything.
Is that all down to the county commission? Is the planning commission part of that?
The county commission approves the general planning
for it, I guess.
Right, and then the Metro Planning Alliance kind of readjusts it. It's one of those the Metro Planning Alliance kind of puts things out and then the commission approves it. But overall big picture, long term, there's a 30-year plan that apparently is supposed to be getting kicked into effect here pretty soon. That's been worked on the last couple of years.
Hardin Valley's been blowing up for fucking 15 years. They're literally one exit off of what we consider still major city of Knoxville.
Right. You can take what's the one after Level? Campbell Station?
Yeah.
You take that Campbell Station Road exit north, and it is windy, back roads, until you get into Hardin Valley, and then it opens back up again. Right. I get the argument.
I've never went that road north.
Yeah, it's fun. It's an interesting drive. Like if you're a sports car kind of person, it's that kind of road. Like if you're trying to get somewhere, it's annoying. If you're enjoying driving, it's fun. It's that kind of road. But again, I don't know. But like I'm curious to look through this 30-year plan as it gets implemented, because of the ideas of trying to, like, there is some of it that's trying to be forward looking, because it's talking about, you know, what Knox County is going to look like in 2050. Like that's what this plan is putting together. It's like, what's it going to look like in 2050? Well,
who cares? We'll all be dead.
I mean, there's part.
But again, in your same argument, why would they argue for what's going to look like in 2050 if what incentive do these current people voting on this if they're not going to be there when it happens?
Well, I mean, you can put the 30-year plan in, that's fine. But when the action starts happening that's when the politics come back to bite you. That's the concern. I mean, honestly, that's the issue at play. It's like, yeah, we're going to really map out what we really want to see Knoxville looking like in the next 30 years. But when it comes down to, hey, let's approve $20 million for some big roadway over in this section because that's part of the plan. In the next 10 years, we're going to start seeing growth over here. Well, now you've signed off on the money part. The conversation about 30 years out is easy. But when you sign out on a big money expenditure now for something that's going to happen 25 years down the road, that's when the politics comes back.
So I think they may have just approved a new, or at least he's talking about it, changing up the Campbell Station 4075 exit right there. That's always been a mess.
Yeah, they've talked about taking it north through Oak Ridge over 275 and kind of bypass.
Yeah, I think it was actually a junction of that and Campbell Station Road.
They're supposed to break ground on Emory pretty soon, which is going to suck.
For the stupid...
They said they just finished something at Emory.
West Emory.
Was that West Emory? Okay.
Yeah, no. Emory at 75, they're doing the exit 407.
407.
The
backwards
converging driving. Cross or converging something.
Wonder what it's going to do to Starbucks. How are you going to get Starbucks there?
I mean, people will get to Starbucks. They don't give a fuck. They'll figure it out. They'll dig a tunnel.
That thing has not gone anywhere. I'm surprised. Like right there where it is, it's like, how do people get in and out of there?
You got to be going west. That's for sure.
Like, I mean, that whole exit, you have to be going to where you're going. Like, you cannot. The only time I ever see anybody get out of what I guess it's Cassie's now, but that pilot right there at the corner. The only time I ever see anybody get out of there going left to go under 75 or get back on 75 are sheriffs. Got a couple of cruisers pulling out of that parking lot. Traffic will stop and let you out. But other than that, I never see anybody try to turn left out. I never try to. I take that back. A couple months ago when I was going up to Sunquist to go hunting at 4:30 in the morning, I stopped there and got gas and pulled out left. But other than that.
So the real question is, why is your Tennessee Blue Book yellow?
It was an anniversary. That was last year's book. The new one is over here, and it's actually blue. But the last year's one,
what is it?
It's our 225th anniversary edition. Essentially, it's a mini encyclopedia of the state of Tennessee governance. Like, you go through there, everybody. Like I said, the new one's over here, but these two are probably pretty close to the same because.
Is it yellow? I can't see it.
No, that one's blue.
Oh.
But they're probably pretty close to the same because everybody that was elected was in office for both of them, and so like there's a section on each state senator, on each House rep. There's some Tennessee history in it, and then there's some recent bills and stuff like that. It's complicated.
So you're a collector of the blue books?
I mean, it's free. You know me, I'm cheap.
It's free. What do you like?
Yeah, Massey brought me the yellow one last year when I had her in for a show. And then Manus sent me that one because Joey, his assistant, had mentioned it in an email I was talking to him about something else on. He's like, hey, you want a new blue book? I was like, yeah. It's like, cool.
Did you say, is it blue?
No, I didn't ask if it was blue or not.
I don't understand why you call it blue book and not blue. Like,
I mean, apparently, traditionally it is blue. It's just this one being the 225th anniversary edition. They did a gold book.
Yellow.
Gold, but yellow, whatever. I mean, it's not like gold leaf or anything.
No, it's yellow.
But
you ask anybody in the world what color that is, they're going to say yellow.
You're probably right. I agree with that.
Unless green-based colors are...
Green and gold, baby.
Green and gold.
Marigold.
Right, the green and gold.
No, are you serious?
Yeah.
Really? What? Wait.
Yeah, you go to Green Bay, and that's that. Yeah, they're green and gold.
Okay. Well, that's why you're stupid.
Among other reasons, sure. I don't doubt it. But, it's green.
Anybody that's not a Green Bay fan, you say, what are their colors? They're going to say green and yellow.
I doubt. I bet you there's a lot of sports teams that are something in yellow, and they would call it gold.
The sports teams. I'm saying that's somebody that's not a fan of that team.
You said of that particular team being Green Bay. I'm saying there's probably like the what are they? The Commanders now in D.C. They're crimson and gold, not crimson and yellow.
Really?
I mean, I would guess that would be what they call them. I don't know if it's crimson or red. I don't know what color they call their red, but I would say it's something in gold. Commanders, is that what it is? What is their new name?
Yeah.
No idea.
The Washington Commanders.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Well, why don't they have gold as a color then? I mean, gold's an actual color. Yellow's an actual color. They're two different colors.
I mean, are we literally going to get on the Crayola box argument right now of the difference in green yellow and yellow green? Because they're pretty damn similar, but they're named different.
No, but like nobody would call the Green Bay helmet gold.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Now Notre Dame, they have a golden helmet.
They do now, and they're all sparkly and whatnot. But
that's gold.
I don't think traditionally it was that true gold. I get what you're saying. I agree that if I was going to get the Pantone chart out, this would not fall under the gold category. But that 225, I think, is that what it says?
No, it says 2019 to 2020. That's 1 year.
Yeah, so the 2020, because 1895? State of Tennessee?
No idea.
1795?
She is
1796.
Right, so the 21 is the 225th anniversary.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's 225th anniversary edition. That's why it's gold. Or yellow, sorry. There's also a window sticker in there because apparently one of Massey's things is... I'm
still not following this. 1790, just 96 to 2020 is not 25 years. 24
225.
Years. It's 24 years. 96 through 2020.
Because
am I wrong?
They do their season is football season. Their fiscal year is July to July. So
that's 19 through 20.
No.
96 through 20 is 24 years.
That bitch brought me an old copy.
So this one...
I don't know, man. This is just what I was given. It's what color it is. I don't know.
20... This one you could say is the...
Are they consecutive?
No, they're not. That one is 19 through 20, and this one is 21 through 22. So is there a 20 through 21?
It should be.
I would think so, right?
I guess.
Or am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm confused now.
Unless it's the 19th year and the 20th year, and
Thanks
this is
everybody
the 21st
for sticking around
year.
for this segment of the show.
Still the same Secretary of State.
So state petitions are now out. So if you want to run for House District 13 and 19, I think, respectively. I'm 18. Manis is my man, but he's getting contested for the Republican nomination for sure. Shears promised me that they have a candidate for that.
Can I do a Sam v. Sam?
No, I get your joke. Okay, so here's what. All right, so back on the gerrymandering, we talked about gerrymandering and some of the House redistricting and stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
So District 90 is the new one that was at least conversed about. The argument of making 90 was to get Gloria out because Gloria was 13, I think.
Okay.
And so the idea was that at least the argument was that they're redrawing the lines to get Gloria out, but she's now in the new 90 that they made. And as of right now, there's nobody even interested in running as a Republican. Like literally, Eric Wader and the Knox GOP are on Facebook asking for anybody who thinks they might want to run for District 90 in the State House.
Seems odd.
Right. Again, if you're going to gerrymander the district to get rid of somebody, you'd think you might have somebody lined up to push them out.
Yeah. How can they not find anybody?
I mean, it's early. I mean,
is there not an intern or anything?
It's early yet. They'll find somebody for sure. But it's just I think part of it being a new district, there's an amount of education to go out to explain to somebody, hey, you were in this district, but you're now in this new one, and you could run for this office. Because some of 90 took 18, which is mine, and so there's somebody that could have been interested, but since Elaine Davis, who is the co-chair of the Knox County Party, is running in 18 to try to get rid of Eddie Manis. They saw that conversation happen and were like, well, I'm going to stay out of this House race this year because that's happening, not realizing that their district had changed to this new 90 with a redraw. So there's probably some people that might have been interested that didn't realize that they were now eligible for 90 instead of 18 or instead of 17 or whatever. Because at least one of the things that I'd heard, at least, is that...
Is there 90 districts?
In the state of Tennessee, there's more than that. There's like 97.
Okay, so there's 90 is a reason. Yeah. Just weird that there's an 18 next to a 90.
Yeah, we're like Knox County.
Like I see 19 taking over part of 18. I don't understand how.
Like Knox County is was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 89, and now they've dismantled 13 and replaced it with 90. So I think 90, I think the statewide there's like 94 now with the redrawing, but there's some subtractions in there too. So it's kind of weird, just the way they didn't readjust. They just dropped 13 and replaced it with 90.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't they just make that 13?
Replace it with 13? But I mean, it goes back to the same reason. Why wouldn't just the House District 18 has this office? Doesn't matter who it is. But no, it's you're Gloria Johnson. You get a hallway and a closet. Have fun, because we're assholes. Is really what's going on there.
It's funny.
But so that's the next level. I'm still we have all the county stuff that's in the books now, and at the same time as the county petition deadline opened the statewide petitions. So that's why we had there's a Democrat from Memphis maybe who's running for governor, who was in town today collecting petitions for his gubernatorial run because
you know the name?
Huh?
Yeah, the name.
I can find it. They ended up going to Schultzbrow because there was some confusion. There was some confusion about their original plan. The place they were going to go was closing, or was closed for the day. So, Dr. Jason Martin, Democratic candidate for governor, stopped by and met with Knoxville Democrats yesterday. It's a pretty sad picture, if you're honest about it. On the far left, that's
is that all the Democrats in Knoxville?
That's what I'm saying. On the far left, that's Dylan Early. He's running for county commission. I can't quite tell who else is in the room. I didn't look close at the picture, but yeah,
so they're not a current legislator.
No, they're running for governor. They're trying to de-seat Mr. Lee.
Who's the guy on the far right?
That is Dr. Martin. That's the guy who's running for governor.
Okay. I thought you said they were current legislature. So I was kind of curious to see. Just watching the legislature, I'm like, which one of those people is running for governor?
He may hold the current position. I don't know.
Where are they at?
That's Schultzbrow.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, literally, they're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Well, 11 people if you count the guy behind the bar. I'm assuming that guy works there, so he doesn't have a choice.
There's 2, 4, 6.
All right, sorry. Let me take it back.
People.
There's 12 people total. Dr. Martin.
There's the guy in the
bartender.
The guy in the black jacket that's just walking back from the bathroom.
Right.
He just happened to be there.
Correction as well. There's a 13th person because there's whoever took the picture.
That's true.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's an interesting. There's some interesting things running in places that so. But anyway, we're going to start seeing all the state petitions start coming in and seeing all the different state races. All the House districts are up. There's one Senate district in the state, or in Knox County, that's going to be on. I think it's District 7, which I think is you, Max. And then, obviously governor. We have one. What was it? We have one federal. I think there's only like one federal race at all. U.S. House District 2. And then the really fun, weird one is the state executive committees have races right now too, which is another one that's just stupid. But that's what we got going on.
Is that the state of the state?
That's the state of the elections for the state, as far as I see it. Vouchers are coming, whether you like it or not. That's what's happening.
What, voting vouchers?
No, election or school vouchers. Election vouchers. School vouchers.
For?
School. State of Tennessee.
Oh, where you can go any school you want to.
Yeah. I'm really curious about this because I was thinking about it. All right, I guess this will probably be enough to finish the show. But I was thinking about it. I don't know what the program. Like, I don't understand the idea of the. Like, I understand the premise of the vouchers. I just don't understand the premise of what we are trying to do in the state. Because, like, to me, like, the idea of, like, I don't know. Let's start a teacher co-op, right? Get a handful of teachers together, figure out a program, make sure we hit the state standards as required. But, you know, we don't need a building. Let's do a thing where, like, all like the enrollees, we use houses. We work out some sort of system to be low cost, have really good teachers, like a full-time tutoring instead of maybe classroom education per se.
I don't have a problem with vouchers.
I do and I don't. I don't have a problem with vouchers if access to become an accredited school in the state of Tennessee is fairly straightforward and easy.
Well, I mean, just in Colorado, where I went to high school, you can go to any high school you want. The school is only providing transportation
right
here. But, like, if you were, you know, a wrestler, you went to my high school. Like, we had a lot of people that didn't live in our county or, you know, or city that were schooled for that, but they wanted to go to school with a good wrestling program, so they came to our school. If you are wanting to play football and you're like, well, the football team where I'm playing sucks, so I want to go play for this team. Like, or if a school has a great, I don't know, auto body program, or the school has a great whatever, like, I have no problem having vouchers.
And I love the idea of specialization, like having schools that focus on certain things. I love the idea of that because you're going to have a better product on the other side for the people that are interested and want to do that kind of thing. That's going to give them an advantage for their life goal as a student. I get that. But when I get a voucher for my kids and I go, I have the school that I'm district for and my voucher is going to cover them, or I could pay 2 or 3 times on top of the voucher to put them into a private school that I think actually does good work. Because if we already have a funding issue with the schools, the vouchers are going to be a problem on that. That's just the reality.
Well, I think there's going to be... So you're saying the voucher program, so, like, how much it costs to go to... You have a voucher for $2,000 to send your kid to Halls, but instead you're going to send them to Catholic, so now you're going to have $2,000 to Catholic, and then it's only going to cost you $3,000 or whatever.
The state is going to put up probably a $5,000 voucher per student, right? So Knox County in general, Knox County puts in about equal to that. So I'm going to assume that Knox County is not going to match my voucher, so I'm not going to get a second voucher from Knox County. Knox County is going to put their school system together. They're going to put the $5,000 per kid into their school system through the taxes that Knox County collects. But Knox County Schools, Rocky Hill Elementary, is going to say $5,000 to send your kid here, and they're going to match that voucher with the local stuff. Or I can send them to Catholic for $15. Or I can send them, or I can send them to whatever. So all the kids that are already in the Catholic get the discount, but that's not even my complaint. My complaint being, how about me and you take some of the money we have? We go hire a gaggle of teachers.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And put together a program to make a new school. State's not going to let us do that. It's not going to. There's a high bar to get the accreditation to be a school.
So I'm going to backtrack. I'm not for the voucher program. I'm for, you can go to any public school that you want, because this voucher program is really only going to help. So you're going to give the person that is sending their kid to Webb, that always had the plan to send to Webb, now they're getting a $5,000 discount, because there's going to be there might be some people change, but a majority of people are going to be like, I'm not going to spend an extra $10,000 to send my Catholic, like $15,000 to go a year there or whatever. And it's not like that $5,000 discount is not going to give me enough to go do that. So maybe I'll send my kid to Halls instead of Powell or whatever.
But the other side of it too is, you think about it, is you say, well, if part of the reason we're doing this is to incentivize the schools to do better, well, are they going to be able to charge more? So Rocky Hill, all of a sudden, they're going to charge $8,000, and I'm only
they have a bunch of kids that are wanting to go. Well, they take Farragut, like, oh, people are stupid, and they're like, oh, Farragut's got a better school system because that's where the rich people live. So I'm going to want to send my kid to Farragut. So now all these kids, they're having an influx of students going to Farragut rather than whatever school. So now can Farragut say, well, we're going to charge $6,000 a year, so you got to pay $1,000 per student to come to our school.
So you can't charge for public schools.
I don't know. You got to take my voucher, right? If I send my kid to your school, though, I don't get to keep the voucher in my pocket. I have to turn that voucher over to, for me, if my kids go to Rocky Hill and I'm given a voucher, I can put them in Rocky Hill and give the voucher over. Right? How's that work?
My understanding of the voucher is it's not like a voucher is sent out to every eligible student's family in the county.
I don't know. I'd love to.
I agree. It's not going to be sent out. It's going to be if you want to send your kid to a different school, then you apply for that voucher.
Right.
Yeah, right. That would be my understanding.
But again, it's like, what's the if the point of it is to incentivize to do better? How does that incentivize Knox County schools to do better? I mean, theoretically, yes. It says Knox County schools do better, or you're not going to get.
Well, they're trying to hit them in the pocketbook.
But that's already where it is.
We talked about it before, where.
But that part already
the
exists.
School gets so much per student, correct?
Right. I think the only thing it's going to do is it's going to incent. It's going to give the people that have money a rebate on what they're paying.
Right, because that's the concern that I have with the conversation I'm seeing about it. Is that it already exists. If I take my kids out and I homeschool them, I send them to a boarding school in Montana. I send them to my mom's house and let my mom homeschool them. Rocky Hill loses a dollar amount per student enrolled.
So if you homeschool your child, if you decide to homeschool, get your wife to be a teacher, do you get an extra $10,000?
Maybe. I don't know. In the voucher system, you might be able to apply to put that in. Why not? If homeschooling is an accredited option, why not? It should be. I would think that one makes more sense to me than discounting web students.
Possibly, if it's an accredited homeschooling organization, but I don't think they're going to automatically give you money to homeschool your child.
I'm just saying, if that makes more sense than discounting somebody sending their kid to web.
My neighbor homeschools all his kids. He's got like 6 of them.
I agree.
That's why he homeschooled them, because he's got like 6 of them, because
they're a bunch of adopted kids.
But I mean, in that case, I'm assuming a lot of homeschool people that actually administrating the homeschooling would then turn around to the state and be like, well, we want a rebate because we've been homeschooling for blah, blah, blah.
Well, what?
You don't get a rebate going back.
If you're going to now give money to a family for homeschooling their child...
Right, because the program is now in place.
I'm assuming some people want that retroactively.
Well, sure, that's the same argument.
Yeah, for the past 2 years, I've been homeschooling my child. I would now like $10,000 for the past 2 years that I've been homeschooling my child.
And they can make that argument, and that's the same argument that you've been on the inverse of in student debt payoffs. Because I was the one that said exactly what you're saying about student debt. It's like, well, I just paid my debt off, and I don't get a bonus back.
Now you're forgiving them, giving them my money.
Right. But it's like, hey, this went into place now. That's when it went into place. Deal with the reality of what's in front of you. I think that's the same thing at play here. As much as I'll call foul as far as being unfair, but the reality is this thing is now in place. That's that. Okay.
Right. I mean, at some point you do have to put a kind of grandfather clause upon it. Yeah.
But I'm saying, I get it. Like, what if the at least Governor Lee and the sales pitch is that this is for students. This is going to be better for students because parents have better control over what their kids are getting taught, how they're getting taught, blah, 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 blah. I like the premise of that. But if the reality is, and what I would assume the reality is going to be with this, is that we're going to have a handful, like there's some private school out of Michigan that's already applying for different stuff in the state to start building some shit here because they think it's coming. Is that what's really going to happen is the web students' families are going to get discounts because they're going to get voucher money back instead of having to pay out of pocket plus the taxes. The public school kids are soon to be the public school kids. Maybe some new private schools come in, and maybe there's a middle ground which has more action for it.
How much you bet that?
That's what I foresee happening is more private schools popping up then take advantage of these vouchers.
And I think that's a good thing. But my question is how to become a private school. Like how difficult it is to get that paperwork through, to do the things, to get the accreditation, and what are the rules in play? Because I'm gonna again, like, I love the idea. Like, literally, I like the idea of starting a co-op. Get a dozen teachers. State law says 20, like if it's elementary age, state law says 20 per teacher. Dozen teachers, you got 240 kids at $5,000 a piece. You do a bunch of really complicated scheduling stuff, working with all the different families of the 200 kids you have. You have like first grade at Jimmy's house for a month, and then first grade moves to somebody else's house, and trying to keep the overhead low by not building a building to beat the school in. Is the state going to allow a teacher co-op school it's like a semi-homeschool rotating thing, but it's not the parents teaching, it's a different party teaching? I'll bet you there's rules that say you can't. Cannot.
Oh, can't. Okay.
And so my thought process is like, if we're going to go on this voucher thing, then let's make it easier to have other methods of doing school.
Oh, I bet that Catholic and Webb and CAK and all those places, when that voucher goes into effect, they raise their tuition.
Sure.
They, if it's $5,000 a student, they raise their tuition by $4,000 a student, and they're like, "Hey, well, you're getting $1,000 back."
Right. Absolutely. I wouldn't see why not.
And those people aren't going to be like, "Oh, I'm not taking my kid here."
I mean, honestly, realistically, what this all shakes out, not a lot's going to change. And especially, but especially with the sales pitch. The sales pitch is, this is for the kids, this is for the families, this is for you to have more control over your students' education and growth and blah, 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 blah. Nothing's going to change. The people that can't afford it and got to deal with what they get.
I like the idea of being able to go to school, any school you want, because if the other question is, how about STEM Academy, which is something that you have to apply for and selected for. So now can all these kids go, I want to go to STEM?
I don't know.
Or is that going to be...
Right. Does the application process change? Does the bottom line requirements to be accepted to a school change? Or more, I guess a better way to do it is...
if they're able to set their own standards, then no.
But maybe STEM doesn't change, but does Bearden get to change their standards? Because now there's a selectivity process, is that they're better at it. They're better at X. They have a better football program, and all the football players want to come there, so they can change their acceptance program instead of being like, "Oh, well, you're district here, so you're allowed to be here." Well, no, you're not a good football player, so we're not going to have you. Like, is that going to be allowed in the system?
See, Colorado, there was no voucher.
No.
In Colorado, there was no voucher system or whatever, but, you can go to any school you want. You can, whatever you want. But, like I said, the only thing was we're not...
Right, transportation's
on you. But, if you were... district for Arvada West, and you wanted to go to Westminster, you just enrolled your kid in Westminster, and you got to get him to school every day and all that kind of stuff. And I like that idea of being like, oh, well, I want to go to this school because they have this program that I want to do. Right.
And I agree. I like the idea of letting schools specialize. I think there is a value to that for the actual student specifically.
Specialize how?
I mean, specialize, like you have the wrestling program, as Max's example is. You have STEM, you have the sciences and stuff like that as a specialization. Apparently, technically, Austin East is
You went from wrestling to STEM.
Sure. Science is a specialty, wrestling is a specialty, arts are a specialty, math's a specialty, business is a specialty. We could go into...
I'm sorry. We do not need to specialize high schools as sports schools.
Why?
Why should we?
Why should we not? I mean,
okay. What's the goal?
Wrestling, great.
What's the goal? I mean, if the
how is that going to get you a job in life?
It gets you into college.
You into college.
Then you go to Iowa.
You get to go to a wrestling scholarship in college,
and then you get to go to Iowa. Or what else? Like Iowa.
Iowa's the college. Yes, it's a powerhouse for wrestling.
I mean, you get the scholarship. I mean, that's something.
Better coaching.
It is something.
There are people currently here in Tennessee that move their house, sell their house and move their house into a district so their kid can play a sport for that school because they know that coach is better, that coach is going to improve their child to do that, and then they have that opportunity to get that scholarship to go to college and do other things. So people are doing it now because they see a value in it. So I like the idea of just being able to do that. And You can say that sports are not a career path, but sports are a career path for a lot of people.
And it's at least a college path if college is part of the program. Because then, I mean, again, we could have. I mean, you could turn. I don't know. We'll just say Halls. Just to throw it out there, Halls becomes a trade school where they specialize in the trades, and you got kids that want to get into electronics or HVAC or something like that. That's the school you go to get that, because you come out of that school and you're miles ahead of kids that come out of normal high school in a specific trade that's a track that you want. I mean, it could be we did wrestling because wrestling was on mine, but I think sciences can be one of them, arts can be one of them, trades can be another one of them. We could break them out.
What if they have that
science,
school?
Arts, and what you just are very broad categories.
Okay.
Science is a very broad spectrum.
Fine.
Mathematics,
fine.
Very
we have
broad
an
spectrum.
astrophysics high school. We have a fucking geometry high school. How specific do we want to get? Sciences are going to build on each other. So if you're going to have a sciences school, you're going to have a sciences school that start off with the broader sciences, and then as you age up, you get into more specific sciences.
Right. You could do the same thing with athletics. There's so many facets of athletics that you could go into.
Right, which is why you have a wrestling school, or you have a football school, or you have a baseball school, or you have a softball school, or you have a basketball
that's how
school.
we need to break down education.
I mean, that's how we break down colleges.
No, that is not how we break down colleges.
Oh, absolutely. So people.
we have wrestling college.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
We have softball college.
Yeah.
UT, right here.
Yeah, you do. And you have pre-med college, and you have law colleges, and you have different colleges that are specialized in something, and some of them are sports, and some of them are not sports.
We have graduate levels for some of those subjects.
Those are colleges inside universities on some of those examples, but yes.
Yeah.
You have the Tennessee University of Tennessee College of Sports Medicine, but you got into the University of Tennessee on a softball scholarship, and then you
wait. What?
I mean, at the college level, at least, you get that scholarship because you're good at said sport. But the University of Tennessee has separate colleges inside of it. That's the way the university system works.
Yeah.
But you go to the University of Tennessee Knoxville on a softball scholarship. But you study nursing because the nursing school happens to be good there. But it's a two-sided coin. It doesn't. I don't know why we're getting all weird on this topic.
I don't know why we are.
To go back to the core conversation is I don't see a problem with letting schools specialize. I think that's a value to the student. If that is a direction,
letting high schools specialize.
If that is
they currently specialize.
If that is a direction, yes, they do. Austin East is an art school. It is Austin East is a
magnet
is an arts magnet school. So if you're a Knox County student and you have a preference for the arts, you can apply to the magnet program and go to Austin East even if you're in West Knoxville.
Yes.
Now, are you going to do that? No. But that is the point of the magnet program that does already exist in Knox County schools. All the high schools in Knox County have a magnet to them of some different sort. The sports ones I don't think are part of the magnet program.
No, they're not.
But
obviously,
why not?
Well, that's why I'm saying why not. I said the exact same. That's my argument. Why not?
And it's not to say that to have a wrestling school, you don't have other things that school does. But if that is the magnet of that school that brings the students in, and the students go there to wrestle, and then they study the other things that are part of the school program, fine. Again, you're picking.
If they happen to learn other things, fine.
You're picking on the sports program part of the thing. What's the point? What are we trying to do? What is the point of school? What are we trying to do to kids?
If you have a kid that's going to be an NFL football player, or whatever sports there is, and you're like, my kid has an affinity for this thing, why would you not want him to go to the best school to give him the best opportunity to go farther in life with that?
Right, and
we'll get rid of wrestling because there's no professional wrestling real. But like,
wait. Did you just say there's no professional wrestling?
Who's your mayor, sir?
Yeah. Well, say football. Like,
doesn't have to be sport in general. The kid already has an affinity to a thing, whatever the thing is. It could be astrophysics, because apparently science is too broad of a thing to say. Astrophysics or wrestling or mathematics or business or HVAC.
Science is very specific.
Whatever the thing that if you realize that the kid already has an affinity toward it and wants to chase it down, it's a benefit to that child to have that as an option. Now, yes, I understand 100%. There's a bunch of kids that don't. They don't know. They don't have a specificity. They don't have something specific they're chasing. And so, yes, there is a value to the broader education of a general school. Now, to say you have a wrestling specialty school, it's not like you couldn't have a kid that's not into wrestling go to that school and learn the other things that go on there. And it's not like that school is spending all day on the mat. They're out there doing English and science and other things. I'm sorry, too broad a subject. They're doing literature. They're doing modern U.S. literature. They're doing geometry, and they're doing chemistry. I didn't mean to be broad.
But that school just happens to have a great head coach.
Was it Peyton majored in? Was it speech? Yeah.
I mean, he is a broadcaster for a living now, so yeah, he did pretty well with his degree, I think.
Is he really?
I mean, yeah.
How often does he broadcast?
He did Monday Night Football all year this year.
The whole
Who are we
year?
talking about?
The Mannings. Peyton specifically.
Oh.
Peyton Manning, they did Monday Night Football on ESPN, had the standard broadcast, and they had the Manning Brothers podcast, which was apparently fucking hilarious.
It is pretty good. The Manning Brothers podcast is really, really good. Actually, I love all the coaches' broadcasts when they broadcast the separate from the main broadcast. It is amazing.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that they're doing with the app, the ESPN app, is what I watched, is really neat. So you can watch the game, the standard broadcast, or they have the Manning Brothers broadcast. They have like the different teams version.
They have like 4 head coaches, and they're like, "Oh, right here is where I would run this play and this play," and then that shit happens, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's like 4 Romos. Like Romo's hard to like. I don't like watching broadcasts that Romo's doing. I don't like. He's too good on that kind of thing. Like this is see the linebacker move to the left there. They're going to run this play. He audibles into this play, and then it's like boom, they do exactly.
I love that shit. I
don't like that. It's like it's like gambling, knowing you're already winning. It's like it's cool to win, but it's not as much fun if there's no chance to it.
How long did Eli actually play for? Sorry, side little like caveat. Like I've seen him in these
15 years.
These little hot sauce commercials and about him being like retired. And I'm like,
retired Super
did he
Bowl
really
MVP.
Play that long?
Yeah, I mean he had at least a dozen years in.
God damn, we're getting.
I mean, not everybody can be the fucking GOAT and play till he's 45.
Right. It didn't seem like he had been in the league that long, and I'm like. He's already retired?
Peyton graduated in 97.
97, yeah, he didn't get 97.
Right.
Eli graduated like 98.
It would have been 98, 99, and he played to like 2016.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just sorry.
Now, I don't remember if Eli played his senior year at Ole Miss. So Peyton played his senior year. So, I mean, earliest would have been...
I guess I'm just getting old. I'm just like, is it really? Eli's already retired?
Eli was the first quarterback drafted, if not the number 1 overall pick the year he did, which was... I want to say it was like 2000.
He's the same age as my wife.
Guess I'm just getting old.
So he's the same age as me.
Yeah.
I'm not your wife, but me and your wife are the same age.
January 3rd, 81.
Yeah.
He was born. Drafted in 2004.
2004?
Yeah. First overall...
Eli?
So, yeah, he did play his senior year. First overall pick in 2004.
San Diego
his first
Chargers.
season was 2005.
Okay, yeah. That's a good little bit then.
Yeah, then he played to like 2018.
Let's see.
Time just flies when you're living.
2-time Super Bowl champion.
Eli hasn't played that long.
2-time Super Bowl MVP.
Now, Cooper,
Walter Payton,
didn't play
NFL.
Yeah.
Although those Caesar Sportsbook ad. Have we talked about that on the show?
The Caesar Sportsbook ads?
Yeah. I think we did. We talked about the tag. The Sportsbook ads on TV have to do the red line, where the Tennessee Lottery doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I found it on their website.
I know you did.
But yeah, I guess they're not required to explicitly say it on every single commercial. They can get away with just saying, play responsibly.
Yeah. Must be nice, but good state money. So, I haven't seen any new updates on our CBD hemp laws in the state. That's still kind of floating around in committees.
So on a commercial yesterday, they had some images that look familiar.
What? Commercial?
Yeah.
For what?
For just recent stories.
Oh, the news?
Yeah, it was just kind of like rerunning some.
Yeah, WBR is doing a series
on video clips.
WBR is doing a series on legalized high. That one? Yeah.
Legalized high.
Yeah, we're the only company. We're the only store dumb enough to give them an interview, and so they've been recycling some of our clips because
I was like, oh, wait, hey, I know that.
You know, I mean, for their sake, I get it. Because, I mean, who's the audience? Like, I guess that's a real question. Well, I said we cut this off a half hour ago, but we'll cut this off this topic. Like, who do you think the real audience for WBIR is? Like, regular, like, 6 o'clock news. Like, I get home, and I'm watching the news at 6. Or I'm watching the news at 7 in the morning. But, like, when they do their big stories, like the stories that they advertise, hey, watch the news tonight, we're doing this story. Because, like, what are the big ones that they've been ads for? They've done this Legalized High series. They did the...
19 was his last year.
We were talking about it last week, 2 weeks ago. There's the dude that was did the translation or whatever of some jihad shit or whatever, and is in jail right now as a terrorist because he's being charged with terrorism. And he's like, it's freedom of speech. I was just trying to like, he's like, he has no qualms about calling himself sympathetic to ISIS or whatever. He's like, I didn't do anything. The only thing I did was translate a video for an FBI agent that was undercover telling me that he was part of ISIS. But, like, those are the stories that WBR advertises. Hey, watch the news. We're going to tell you the story tonight. Right. But who's the audience? Who realistically is the audience for WBR anymore?
White male Republicans.
No, fuck no. Jesus. Have you watched the broadcast of theirs?
I'm kidding.
I mean, I'd say they're right-leaning, but not hard. But, I mean, I think that's a problem. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is it's not WBR specific. It's all of the local news, the actual TV broadcasts. Like, there's no story there. And I can't figure out who they're trying to sell to. Like, who's going to stop what they're doing to watch the 6 o'clock news on WBAR?
I don't watch any of the news.
Well, I think that they know that most people aren't watching it live, so a lot of it is coming to those small little blurbs.
Right, but even that...
some of those news blurbs, or at least nationally wise, are coming from their parent...
Right.
Old people. Right. That's who's watching that. Yeah.
And so, again, I understand the idea. It's like, know your audience. This is your audience. This is the stuff that gets them excited and gets them keep watching you. Okay. But for me and you and sitting here and doing what we do on the show and talking politics and shit like that, especially local government shit, they don't cover it well at all. That being said, we don't pay attention well at all. Apparently, at the Bearden High School hosted the superintendent forum this week.
Yeah. Down to 2.
Non-elected officials in the room was 1. There was 1 person who was not in politics directly in Knox County for this forum, this open to the public thing to meet and talk to these the 2 candidates left for superintendent in Knox County Schools. There's 1 person in the room that wasn't either on the school board, part of the school system, and elected.
Why is that? Were they not letting him in?
No, it was just nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Nobody went.
Why didn't you go?
Because it was Tuesday night. We were at Scouts. I think. I don't remember. It's on my list of shit to do. I mean, that being said, I take it back. Hornbeck was there because he was the one that made the joke that there was only one non-elected person here. And Hornbeck is not technically elected yet. He is running for state SEC, but that's a whole separate thing. Which I don't think he should, personally. That's a weird thing. All right. We'll close it off. I'll not start another topic. It's just weird. He
would have been just you talking anyway.
And it's just nodding our heads like, okay, sure.
Well, this is what I'm trying to, like, I don't know. This is like, you are my audience for the interviews portion of the show. Like, that's what's weird to me. It's like, you guys are the audience. You are the normal people in Knox County that go about your lives doing shit that don't pay attention, really, to what's going on around
or your podcast.
Exactly. I made the joke. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I made the joke. It's like, what I would love for this show to be is a weekly review of of all the other shows that I've done. Is hey, here's all the different shows I've had. Here's all the different interviews I've had. Let's kind of wrap up what's going on in a 3-hour, more concise version.
And that would turn to a critique of your individual interviews. I don't think that's a good thing.
No, I'm not. Fair enough.
Why didn't you ask him this? Why didn't you ask him that?
Why weren't you fucking here and you could ask him your fucking self? That would be my answer to all those things. The only time I've ever gotten any excitement is this Lamar Alexander situation, and I'll quit work to make sure I'm here for the Lamar Alexander interview. That's the only one I've gotten.
Yeah, I won't be here.
I mean, I'll be here because, I got to be here. But anyway, that's a show. Anything? Last call? Anything that I totally missed that you guys really want to get out there?
Nothing specific.
Petitions are dead. We're down to what we got left. So these are your choices, people. Find out who they are. Almost in agreement. Almost in agreement at gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram-ish. Go to our website, almostagreement.com. I've got the Voter Guide 22 up. That's a quick breakdown. You can get all the different people and links to my interview with them or their website or whatever else I can find that's worth seeing. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Hit us up there. Tell us all about them. Get a 5-star review, whatever it is. Tell your friends about us. Look out for my yard signs. I'm going to start working on those. It's yard side season. I'm going to start putting yard signs out just for me. But I don't know. Let's see. On the schedule this coming week is I got Gina Oster, Mr. Butler, Mr. Edwards, and Chuck Severance rescheduled, so I'm still working on that one. So I got at least 3 or 4 more this week. I did have one mayoral candidate talk to me today. We're getting that one scheduled as well. So at some point here, I'm going to get another wrestler on. I had one, but we'll have one more. So anyway, almost agreeing, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. Bye.